But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
I don't know whether rockets or whatever, but incredibly fast, almost the direction. They were too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0.
Doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
All right, good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you whom we also have troubled minds. This show is live. We're doing this on DLive, Rockfin, YouTube, and Twitter. Currently, it looks like the Fringe FM is down, so we're going to call this the technical difficulties version of Troubled Minds, but we are streaming on all of the platforms we normally do, but Fringe seems to be having some software issues, so it is what it is. Tried to get it working several times, and it's not working, so we're going to go without it, and I guess apparently Jess Rogie had some issues just prior to us coming on as well. Thank you, Rivers, for pointing that out. I had no idea, because I clearly can't listen. I'm trying to prep a show here. I appreciate that. But this is the show for you folks showing up that have no idea what's going on here. This is a show about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. And you know what those things are, of course. As we always do this, it's aliens. It's about conspiracy and the paranormal. It's about of course, the government. It's about academia. It's about the 24-hour news cycle. And, of course, propaganda and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. And the upside down means many things, okay? It means information. It means things we're taught. It means how, right, the indoctrination process. It means all of that stuff. And, right, as Yoda would say, right, unlearn what you have learned. And that's kind of a nice way to boil down what this show is kind of about. It's maybe looking back into history, maybe looking speculating ahead into the future and seeing what's going on, and all the rest of that. It's that's what it's about, really. All those things I described and more, because there's so many things to talk about, so many interesting things, and that's really what spawned this program. I say a program, that's not really a program because that's a bad word, isn't it? But what spawned this show, this conversation, let's call it. That's probably the best thing to say about this. It's just a simple conversation. Sometimes not so simple, but That part doesn't really matter because the conversation can go anywhere our imaginations can go. And that's really what this show's about. That's what's going on with all this stuff and why we've done this for a very, very long time now. 3+ years. Like I said, I'm very proud of that, coming on 3.5 years of troubled minds. And that's a good thing. But let me point out that part of the actual the idea here of that conversation, I'm calling it, we're bringing back the great conversation. And I've said this several times, but it's true. It's there's so many things that get left out of news cycles, that get left out of conversations, in generally speaking. And there's a lot of things that really should be probably top of news cycles, if you ask me, if you ask my opinion on this. But of course, nobody's asking my opinion on this because nobody gives a damn. Because of course, I'm not a billionaire, not funding the media conglomerates. So there you go. I said it. So in any case, that's what's up. That's what this show's about. And it is live. So I want to point out that if you want to be part of the show tonight, you can reach us at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. 1037, and you can go join the Discord at troubledminds.org. So this is the, again, technical difficulties version. We're not on Fringe tonight, which is a digital radio network, so check that out, fringe.fm/chat. You can join their Discord there, and also check us out at troubledminds.org. You can find the phone number on the website and also the Discord link. It's right on top. Discord, of course, is a chat client. It's a voice client. It's what the youngsters play video games with, and you can share streams. You can type old school chat room style. You can jump in a voice channel and just talk about all kinds of things. And that's pretty much what Discord is about. Like I said, we're not sponsored by Discord. I say this almost every night. It's just an amazing program. And folks that make amazing programs deserve the accolades that come along with that. So if you guys don't know what Discord is, the mobile version of Discord's a little sketchy because it's hard to navigate, but they're still working on that. It's still a work in progress. But the desktop version is absolute beauty if you guys still use computers. I realize computers are even old school now, which is funny because it's going to lead us into the topic. But computers are becoming old school because everybody's using smartphones, tablets, and all the rest of that stuff, right? So that's what's weird about this. That's weird about the conversation tonight and what's going on. So we'll get into that in just a moment. And time to roll. Yes, it is time to roll. So I didn't get a chance to say hello during the intro because we were having issues with Fringe. So I will. We're going to still do the same thing to keep our ad breaks in order. So we will take a break at the bottom of the hour, top of the hour, just like we're on the radio, and then we will, of course, stop and say hello to chat and be a little more social at that point. So just letting you guys know that's what's going on, and that's what we're doing tonight. So if you want to be part of the show, one more time, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org, and we'll put you on the show that way as well. All right, so tonight, as I said, people aren't even using computers anymore, are they? Right? Or the computers are actually changing. They're morphing. They're turning into something else entirely. Meaning that I have this nice big desktop setup. You guys know I'm standing up here. I got a nice standy desk. I got, I do a lot of work I work from home, and so I do a ton of work from my PC here, and ergonomics and all that. But it's the world is changing from that. It's not even that anymore. It's becoming again iPads and large tablets and smartphones and all the rest of this stuff, right? And so you don't even need these big elaborate setups anymore, even though they are nice because you get the big screen, you get the webcam, you get the nice light, you get, you can do all the cool things. I've never been on a Zoom meeting, for like a conference call type thing, because thank goodness for that. But if I did, boy, I'll tell you, I'll slay the shit out of that with this setup. Yeah, you got like I said, the nice lighting and all the rest of that. But in any case, this stuff is going away. It's everything. The computers are getting smaller. The computers are changing. They're not like the old school gaming setups. It's something else entirely. But why that is relevant to the conversation tonight is because, well, there's an article that came out. As you guys know, I watch the news cycles pretty closely to try and pick things out that are interesting, that maybe should be a conversation, and we try and turn them into that. So that's what we're going to do tonight, as usual. And here we go. Let's start with this. This is from the GreekReporter.com. GreekReporter.com. Dropping it in the chat, and there we go. And we will do, let's see, what are we going to do? Let's put it here and here. I think we're good. Let's see. Let's go over to Rockfin. I think Rockfin's rolling still. Yeah, what's up, guys? I see you there. All right, I'll come say hi at the bottom of the hour. Thanks, guys, for hanging out with us. We'll get going. Like I said, technical issues tonight. That's why we're starting a little bit late, so my apologies for that. But as you know, a live show, once you hit the go button, sometimes shit hits the fan. So that's what's happening here. Okay, so anyway, this article from GreekReporter.com, headline is this, and it got me thinking in a number of ways, of course, as usual, right? I kind of want to talk about not just this in particular, but maybe some implications. Maybe go back to the ancient times, maybe look forward a little bit, maybe talk about what's happening in the current let's say the zeitgeist of robots and computers and let's say the surveillance state. So we're looking at this from all angles as usual, and I think that's the beauty of a conversation like this is when you have you include yourself and myself and whoever out there might be listening and start thinking in terms of all the angles of these things, you get some pretty amazing takes come out of this. So here we go. Back to this article. Ancient Greeks predicted robots, claims Stanford historian. Okay, and so not only that, that's maybe, right? Maybe. I think we can say maybe. This guy wrote a whole book where he's describing exactly this and how it went down. But let's read just a little bit from this article, and then we'll get to some questions tonight that I have for you. And let's see. Hold on. We got, let's see. All right. Let's see. Hold on. One moment, please. Okay. Okay, hold on one sec. Okay, so here we go. Let's read some of this. Just passing on the information here to Joe from Infringe, who's trying to figure out what's going on. Okay, so ancient Greeks not only created the foundations of modern civilization, but they also predicted robots and other future technological innovations, according to a book on the subject. And this book is coming out. We'll talk about the book in a sec here. But Stanford University historian Dr. Adrienne Mayer, in the upcoming Gods and Robots, argues that Greek myth prefigured artificial intelligence, robots, driverless cars, and other modern technologies. And there's some reasons for that. We're going to get into some of those reasons tonight. But I think that just the premise itself, like some people have stated very early on when they saw the headline of what we're doing tonight, that, it stands to reason. Computers have been around for thousands of years, as they say. Actually, somebody mentioned the Antikythera device. I don't know how to say it. I didn't include it as part of this discussion tonight. Otherwise, I would have brushed up on my on how to say this stuff. But in any case, right, they've got old versions of these, maybe computers or at least in concept, different type of ancient robots, as it were. And, like you can go back to Leonardo da Vinci and things like this, where they were trying to create this stuff in more modern times, but definitely not back in the ancient Greek era. And that's what we're talking about tonight. So, okay. 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 All right. All right, cool. Okay, just updating Joe here. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay. All right, rolling without it tonight. All right. Okay, so there we go. So this is again, right, so Dr. Mayer's arguments revolve to a large extent around Hephaestus, the Greek god of craftsmen and metalworking. And interestingly, we've been talking about a little bit of Greek mythology the last couple days. And what's up, Night Stalker says, Bubo the robotic owl in Clash of the Titans. There you go. I don't even know if that's a real thing or if that was a movie adaptation. Is that real? Is that an actual real representation of something that was in those old stories? I don't know. I always thought that was a movie adaptation, but I could be very wrong. It's almost impossible to be up on all of the Greek myths because there's so many different versions of them. But okay, so in any case, not just that, all right, there's more. So one of his creations, Hephaestus, of course, was named Talos, Talos, a great automaton made of bronze, who Mayer describes as a bronze killer robot and an early precursor to the kinds of androids now being built by Boston Dynamics. Uh-oh. And so that's what's on my mind tonight. So is it possible that in the old days, not only did they predict the rise of maybe artificial intelligence and robots themselves, is it even more possible that they've been able to maybe create these things thousands of years ago, as described here by some Greek mythology, which we'll get into. We'll get into Hephaestus and that story, and the story of Talos, the bronze giant robot, and the rest of this stuff. And again, so if it happened once, in this case, did it happen several times, many times? And has this been one of those situations where you would say, I guess you would say that maybe robots have been around quite a bit longer than we're willing to admit to ourselves, and that's kind of the question. But then also, right? So that's the question that's on my mind. Do you think that's possible? And of course, we're talking about Hephaestus, which is a Greek god, basically, right? A Greek Roman god, as they interchange the names back and forth, and by and large, a lot of the stories are the same or similar. But not only is it a Greek god, this is again technology. We're talking about old school technology. So is it possible that not only maybe they were building robots way back in the day, predicting them, building them, but what does it mean about the definition of a robot? Meaning, of course, that clearly today we're talking about define an autonomous robot ourselves. We're like defining consciousness ourselves, there's these really huge philosophical questions that are kind of kind of baked into this conversation as you start beginning to ask the question of whether this stuff could be real from back in the day. So that's what's on my mind tonight. Those are the questions. What do you think that what is the definition of a robot? And is it, again, we've talked about maybe summoning things, right? Summoning spirits from the ether or from other dimensions, or whatever, from heaven or hell, or, we kind of joked about that a little bit last night, which, again, I don't recommend you summon anything from any of those places. But point being is this. What is a robot? Of course, in our terms, in modern terms, a robot seems pretty easy to define. It's what do you call it? What's the little thing that runs around and vacuums your living room, right? What's that thing called? Whatever that thing's called, that's a robot, right? I mean, it's a robot vacuum cleaner. It's mostly autonomous. It bumps into things. What is the name of that? What's the name of that thing? A Roomba. There it is. A Roomba. I wanted to say Floby, but that's not the same thing at all. but point being, a Roomba. So clearly a robot to us is something, mechanical. You plug in, maybe electronic. You plug it in and it draws power from our current, power sources. This type of thing. There you go. The Roomba. That's what I'm looking for. Thank you, guys. So that's clearly, in basic definition terms, that's a robot. But again, if you're talking about maybe back to Hephaestus and the Greek myths, and that maybe robots were built or created or even conceived of way back then, is it the same thing at all? And so, of course, one, we're programming things here, meaning in the modern day, things are run with algorithms and microchips and all the rest of this stuff. But is there a different way to build a robot? And again, we've talked about maybe golems or things like this, where your life, some sort of life force is infused into a body, right? Or something like this, whether it's the fire of life, like we say a soul, or whether it's something entirely different, like an entity from elsewhere. So who knows? Maybe conjured or summoned, or I don't know. Like I said, and those are the questions that are on my mind tonight. Is all this stuff possible? Is this what's going on here? And what do you think a robot really is? There you go. Robert says it right. Frankenstein. There's another good idea, right? Is a robot, could it be flesh and blood? And you bring it back from the dead through electricity or some other means, and yeah, I don't know. It's alive. It's alive. You tell me. So I don't know. That's the question tonight. Is one, do you think it's possible that Hephaestus and these Greek mythology stuff has actually conceived of and possibly even built robots thousands of years ago? That's what's on my mind. And then two, what does that even mean? What's the definition of a robot? Of course, we know what in modern terms, but do you think there's maybe an archaic definition of a robot that may not be about microchips and, AC power at all? Maybe it's something else entirely, like, I don't know, powered from the sun, maybe the first like the first solar powered something, right? This is what I'm talking about. Like, what are we into tonight? How deep are we going to get into this? And as always, that's up to you. We can kind of take it at like the surface level and talk about the stories and Greek mythology just as a fun aside, or we can go deep into this and ask ourselves again. I can see this conversation getting into consciousness and all kinds of other crazy stuff. So you guys tell me. As you know, this conversation goes where you want to take it. Like I always say, we try and keep this open ended because it is a great conversation that begins 3.5 years ago and ends, God willing, whenever it ends. Okay, we're going to keep on going for as long as we can go here, and that's what's on my mind tonight. And basically, like I said, if you want to be part of the show, love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And we'll put you on the show and click the Discord link and hop on in here. Yeah, there's a good one. Robert in the chat says the terracotta armies of the first dynasty of China, right? So let's say it was... back through, instead of robotics today, through microchips and AC power or solar power or what have you, maybe there was some sort of ritual magic that created these golems, as it might have been. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. That's what I'm talking about tonight. All kinds of that all over history. And yeah, so what are your thoughts on this as we begin and start kind of going down this rabbit hole a little bit? I think it's a good one. I think that's I'm glad this Greek Reporter site is pretty good with the stuff they crank out, because why not? Why I'm sure that this has been an ancient aliens show at some point, because they've pretty much covered it all, right? In season 27 or whatever the hell they're into. But I haven't actually seen, if they've done it, I haven't seen an episode that covers this, and so it was kind of a novel idea to me in terms of the ancient robotics and maybe robotics of today. And we'll get into some of that, some of the more spooky stuff about today, and robotics of the current time frame. But again, so questions tonight. Do you think it's possible that Hephaestus of Greek mythology, the blacksmith of the gods, as it were, was actually able to create robots back in the day? And we'll start with Talos, T-A-L-O-S. That was one example, and we'll get into who that is and what the mythology behind Talos is. But do you think it's possible that maybe robots existed thousands of years ago? And if so, how different are they from robots of today? Which, of course, brings into question, what exactly is a robot? And there you go. So that's I think that boils it down pretty good to start. And again, like I said, sorry about the technical issues tonight. It is what it is. We're having problems with the fringe a little bit, so we'll hopefully we can get back on there at some time tonight. But if not, we'll be back on there tomorrow, and all good. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue trucking like it is the fringe style. So I'll just not play commercials, and we'll talk to the chat instead. So I'll play some bumper music like we're going to a break here, and we will take a break, talk to chat, and then we'll come back and do the show proper style. So we're taking your phone calls again. If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We're talking about robots of ancient times. Do you think they actually existed, or do you think it's all fanciful tales of Greek mythology? And of course, what does a robot even mean? Are there different definitions? We're going to get into that tonight. One more time, 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More after the break. All right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. and we are streaming on Rockfin, DLive, Twitter, and YouTube. And tonight, we're discussing ancient robots. Hephaestus created one named Talos. If they did one, do you think they did more? What about the Athena's owl? Yeah, right. Bubo, the Athena's owl. What's up, Robert? Thank you for that. If this stuff existed back in the Greek antiquity, does it still exist? And has it been one of those things that was... Let's kill that before it gets crazy. Is that one of those things that's been... it's been... clearly, if they were building robots way back in the day, that they probably are building them, throughout history, right? I think that's the weirdness. That's the odd part about this. But then again, what else is on my mind? The other question here is not just Hephaestus, not just Talos, not just maybe Bubo, the Athena's owl, which again, thank you. I didn't even think of that because I actually thought it was a movie adaptation, like I said. But that's why we do this live. That's why we include you guys. That's why there's all kinds of great information that kind of comes out of these shows as we go, and that's what's up. So yeah, is it possible that's been going on? And if so, is it possible the definition of a robot is not quite like we consider it to be? Of course, meaning that in today's age we have, what would you call it? Like I said, microchips and AC power. But in the old days, was it something else? Do you think a robot could have been maybe ritual magic and some sort of, spirit or some kind of entity that entered into the spirit? I have no idea. What's up? Thank you. Derek says it didn't work for Jess's show either. Okay. So that's what's going on. We're going to keep on trucking with this and try and figure out fringe as we go. But okay, so that's what's on my mind tonight. If you guys have thoughts on this, love to hear from you. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Troubleminds.org. Like I said, sorry about being a little distracted, but I'm trying to do one too many things here. But okay, let's go. So this individual's writing a book, all right? Adrienne Mayer. And the upcoming book is called Gods and Robots. And pretty cool stuff because, of course, it's not just gods and robots. It's, again, Hephaestus built this bronze killer robot named Talos, which we'll get to in a little bit. Here's another one. So straight from the book and ideas from the book here that we can add to the questions tonight and some of the theories is according to another of his creations, Hephaestus here, was Pandora. A replicant, they say, or a wicked AI fembot, okay, who, according to Mayer, was programmed to release evil into the world. And what is that? That sounds like something we'd talk about on this show, doesn't it? So Pandora wasn't the only AI Hephaestus constructed, since he also built mechanical golden maidens to help him with his work, which I was going to get to in a little bit as well, is that he was infamous for actually building his own workforce, his own robotic workforce back in the day. Again, all in Greek mythology. So take it, for what it is if you believe the sources. But kind of like we always say on this show, do you think there's a reason why this stuff is whatever it is, that maybe there's basis for these stories, for these mythologies? And that's what's going on tonight. That's what's on my mind. Like I said, love to hear your takes on this. Do you believe that maybe there were actual, maybe ancient AIs brought about by an entity, a godlike entity like Hephaestus? And we'll get into that as we go. What's up, Carryout says, Hellboy, the Golden Army. Who else is here? Robert says, not sure if Bubo was adapted for the movie, but from my recollection from Latin class, I know he was her owl. Okay, right, exactly. So I think that's what it was. Maybe it was not a mechanical owl. I don't know. Like I said, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember the exact details of that. If I had thought of it previous to starting, I would have checked, but I clearly can't do all those things at the same time. So if anybody can help me with that, I'd appreciate it. But okay, so there's more here. So they were these golden maidens that Hephaestus actually built to help him do his work, where these were designed to predict his needs and to act on them without direct instruction. And, which of course, something in which Dr. Mayer believes makes them early versions of such AI-powered personal assistants as Amazon's Alexa. Oh, yeah, Amazon's Alexa, right? And we'll get into that specific particular thing in just a moment here. But Amazon's Alexa. That's a doozy, right? Did Hephaestus create the first Amazon Alexa? I don't think so. I hope not. That's for sure. But anyway, and neither were these creations the only ancient Greek prophecies of future tech. According to Dr. Mayer, Homer's epic poetry foretells the arrival of driverless cars and transportation. In the Odyssey, Odysseus sails back to Ithaca on pilotless Phoenician ships, while in the Iliad, Homer writes about autonomous wheeled tripods that transport ambrosia. And so there you go, driverless cars all the way back to Homer and the Iliad and the Greeks thousands of years ago. Crazy stuff here. Like I said, I'm not sure regarding how actually, how true we should take this. But again, do you believe that maybe the robots are not a new thing? Like somebody stated earlier, nothing new under the sun. And that's again, kind of like what's on my mind tonight. If you guys want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. I'd love to have you on, and we'll talk about this stuff. I appreciate some help tonight, guys, because I'm trying to help Joe fix this fringe stuff, and I do not want to just shut it all down to try and do this. Let's keep this show going. Somebody can please call me and help me out. I'd appreciate that. I got some other things to do here. 702-957-1037. Join the Discord. We're talking about, of course, robots, ancient robots. And Hephaestus created his golden workforce. And, of course, he created all kinds of things that we're trying to, let's see. Okay. All right. I got you. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Okay. Thank you. All right, cool. So I guess Joe is... let's see. All right, we can fix this later. Cool. We're live on Fringe. Thank you, Joe, for hooking it up. We are back to Fringe. Okay, so we'll keep on going with this. Fringe timing back in effect. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Thank you, Joe, for giving the assist here and putting us back on the radio. All right, so the thing is this, right? Once again, ancient Greeks developed their own technology, and this is again from a book that's coming out by a Stanford University historian, Dr. Adrienne Mayer, and the upcoming book is called Gods and Robots, and of course, which means, do you believe that this is true? I find it interesting that academics are kind of, I don't know, maybe catching up to us and watching our show or something. This is stuff we talk about, that type of thing that we talk about. But I don't know. What do you guys believe? Do you believe that the ancients were actually able to create these robots, Hephaestus, through whether you believe it was technology, whether you believe it was through alchemy or sorcery or some mixture of all three? Do you think that AI robots and autonomous beings like this were actually stomping around thousands of years ago? And that's the question. We'll get to Talos in just a sec, the first one that Hephaestus is actually said to have created, and what he did and where he fits into this mythology. But so then again, of course, it brings to mind, what do you think an actual AI robot is? Meaning that, of course, in the old days or currently, it's easier to define because we know what a robot is. Like I said, AC power, microchips, and the rest of this stuff, like a Roomba, right? The most basic. But then we can go to Boston Dynamics and see the dancing dogs and our robot overlords, that type of thing. So it's a little easier to define now because we have maybe that spark that's inside of them, that wink consciousness that's happening is kind of it's programmed. It's a pre-programmed consciousness that's the spark of life is AC power or battery power or what have you. So that's an easy definition, I think. But then again, if you go back thousands of years, it's not so simple, is it? Because clearly they probably didn't have microchips and AC power. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that? One more time, 702-957-1037. Let's get to Talos. And let's keep on trucking. Thanks again for Joe Roop for fixing it. Hard to juggle all things at the same time. So nice assist. Johnny on the spot. Thank you for the assist. All right, so we got... this is the book itself. This is from press.princeton.edu, and I want to link this in the chat so you guys can check it out. If you're interested in reading this book, I haven't read it because it's just now coming out, and which is why it's making the news, of course. But here we go. Let's do this. Here we go. All right, there we are. Okay, and so there it is. Again, Gods and Robots, and again, the author of The Amazons, which is Adrian Mayer, an academic from Stanford, no less. And yeah, that's what's up. So let's get to Hephaestus. Okay, now Hephaestus here, of course, was the blacksmith of the gods, as was known back in the day, back in the Greek mythology. Okay, so let's get to Hephaestus here. We're going to link this in the chat. And what I want to know, like I said, you guys know my questions tonight. Love to hear your thoughts on this. Thank you, Liam, for putting the phone number in there. Appreciate it. Hey, man, when you're struggling. You're trying to do too many things at once. The things suffer. But okay, so Hephaestus, here we go. This is from mythopedia.com, and this is pretty good stuff. God of the kiln, master of metallurgy, and patron of all artisans, Hephaestus was the deft and dexterous craftsman of Mount Olympus. While Hephaestus found his place among the gods as a weapons maker and trap setter, he nevertheless often found himself unloved and unwanted by the other gods. Derided as the lame one, Hephaestus bore the stigma of a shriveled foot, the result of being hurled from Mount Olympus at birth. So however much of Hephaestus' lameness might have stigmatized him in the eyes of the gods, it endeared him to Greek mortals, who, like him, fell short of the perfection that was embodied by the great Olympian deities. In their eyes, Hephaestus' ability to craft and contrive, as well as his ceaseless effort to make whole what was broken, were rallying cries for the imperfect. Well written, very nice. And let's see. So here we go. So as with many Greek deities, there was no reliable etymology for the name Hephaestus. The first known recording of the word appeared in a blah blah. Okay. Anyway, I can get into more of this. Like I said, I'm not sure what you guys are into because everybody's been super quiet out there. And like I said, things have been a little disjointed tonight because of trying to fix things on the fly. But we're back. So you tell me, what do you want to hear about? Do you want to hear more about Hephaestus? You want to hear about the first robot he created thousands of years ago? What do you think this is even about? Do you think this is real, or do you think there's just some kind of, as we always say, right? Are these Greek myths just some sort of fanciful fiction? Sort of like. Or is it based in some sort of reality? And that's why they talk about these things. Let's see. Let's go to the chat here. What are we doing? There we go. Alcinous, what's up, Robert says, Alcinous, the king of Phaeacia, had mechanical watchdogs that guarded his palace. Interesting. Were they made by Hephaestus? Interesting. Good stuff here. Thank you again for helping out in the chat. I appreciate that. I don't know. You guys tell me. I think that's the thing here. Do you think they're real, or do you think they were just some sort of something? Maybe statues that gleamed in the sun, made of bronze or something that scared people away. I don't know. I think people are probably not that stupid, even way back when. And yeah. There you go. Okay. So let's. I guess I'm gonna just keep on trucking with Hephaestus until I hear from one of you guys, because I'm not hearing from anybody. 702-957-1037. We'll keep on trucking. All right, so okay, what do we got? In his own time, Hephaestus, blah, blah, married Aphrodite, the most beautiful of all the goddesses, of course, but their marriage was an unhappy one, at least according to the Odyssey, where the Homeric authors had Hephaestus complain about Aphrodite, okay, blah, blah. Here we go. Okay, anyway, let's see. Hold on. Let me find a nice... Here we go. All right. This is better. Okay, I'm going to go full screen on this and just catch us up. Like I said, caught me out of sorts tonight. Too many things going on at the same time, but we're back. So what's up? Tinfoil says, enjoying the show, but I'm multitasking. Okay, all good. So am I. There we go. Hephaestus was the god of fire, metalworking, and stonemasonry, forges, and the art of sculpture. He was the son of Zeus and Hera and married to Aphrodite by Zeus to prevent a war of the gods fighting for her hand. He was a smithing god, making all the weapons for Olympus and acting as a blacksmith for the gods. He had his own palace on Olympus where he made many clever inventions and automatons, here we go, of metal to work for him. Hephaestus' ugly appearance was the reason Zeus chose him to marry Aphrodite, but despite this, she had many affairs with both gods and men. Ah, the good old days. In one story, Hephaestus builds a tricky invention which catches Aphrodite laying with Ares, the god of war, trapping them both in the bed to be laughed at and ridiculed by other gods. There you go. Everybody needs a Hephaestus on their side. He is similar to Athena in his giving skill and help to mortals, in his case, artists. It was also believed that Hephaestus taught men the arts alongside Athena. However, He was also considered far inferior to that of the goddess of wisdom. So more here, the facts that he was the god of fire. Some accounts he was said to be the son of Zeus and Hera. He was ugly for sure. He was the workman of the immortals. He made their dwellings, furnishings, and weapons. In his workshop, Hephaestus had assistants who were made out of gold and who helped him with his work. In most accounts, Aphrodite was his wife. Hephaestus was the patron of the arts. Okay, all kinds of good stuff, right? But let's get to Talos. Now, exactly what we're talking about tonight is Hephaestus is said to have created, again, Hephaestus, the ancient Greek god, is said to have built the first robots thousands of years ago. And that's the question tonight. Do you think that's even possible? And if so, it calls into question, in my mind, what a robot even is. Is it the same thing? And so Talos, let's get to Talos real quick, and we'll talk about this, and we'll keep on trucking tonight. Here we go. This is from GreekMythology.com, which is a fantastic website, by the way. Lots of stuff when I was looking into this tonight. I kept being surprised by the quality of actual websites out there that are really great, because of course, there's so many that are trash these days that you find a nice set of websites, and that I don't know, warms your cold heart, Michael Strange. But okay, so here we go. Talos. Now this is where it starts to get interesting. Okay, Talos was a giant bronze man who guarded the island of Crete by throwing stones at the ships of unwanted visitors. He was most probably created by Hephaestus and given to either Minos or Europa as a gift. Talos' only weakness was his ankle, where the single vein containing all of his life fluid, or ichor, the blood of the gods, was sealed with a thin membrane of skin or a bronze nail. Medea exploited this weakness and killed Talos by bewitching him to graze his ankle on a sharp rock. And so the origin, of course, of this giant robot, Talos, they say, which is the first robot ever, but I think we can probably say if they were happening then, maybe they were happening previously. So he was an automaton cast by Hephaestus. So it's only natural that the most common links that Talos had with Hephaestus was because, of course, the celestial artificer was famed for his automata, and Talos, a single-veined giant made of bronze, certainly looks like one. In this case, poets say that Talos was a gift from Hephaestus to Minos, constructed by the former to help the first king of Crete guard the island from invaders. And that, again, that's the story. That's where this all begins. Like I said, it's kind of been a long and winding road to get us to this point. Some, like I said, technical difficulties edition tonight. But that's really what's on my mind again. What do you think about Talos? What do you think about Hephaestus? What do you think about the ancient robots, as it were? Do you think this is a real thing, or do you think, again, we're kind of stretching our imaginations a little bit too far and drinking a little bit too much maybe juice? And yeah, that's the way it goes, right? What's up, JJ? New York says everyone always poos on the builders. Yeah, that could be. Let's see. They're you guys in the jokes in the chat. Okay, so that's again. I don't know. Hephaestus builds an army of golden maidens to help him in his workshop. He creates and casts the first robot, as depicted here by the individual that's writing the book about gods and robots, in the name of Talos, who actually ran around Crete throwing rocks at boats as they passed by to keep intruders from landing on Crete with the original King Minos. So again, like I said, it seems to me that these stories are a little more in depth than just, well, there was a robot, right? There's the robot cast by Hephaestus, created with some sort of maybe artificial intelligence, at least. Maybe, like we've talked about, maybe golems in the past, like I said as we began the show tonight. Or, like, what is it? Like, what's an actual robot, and what's going on with this? I think that's the question and the weirdness. So, actually, yeah, damn it. I just had a thought. Okay, anyway. All right, so anyway, if you guys want to be part of the show, I'd love to hear from you. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. So since Joe's got us on the fringe, what we're going to have to do for the commercials, which is the thought I just had, is just play the commercials straight through. So we'll edit them out after, but sorry about that. Like I said, trying to keep all things going here, and it's less than possible to do all the things we normally do without the technology running like it should. So apologies there, but we will go to a regular commercial break at the top of the hour, and then we'll just play straight through. So that's coming. That's a thought I just had of the way we're doing it. So anyway, if you guys want to be part of the show, love to hear from you. 702-957-1037. Is it possible that robots have been created for thousands of years? What do you think about Hephaestus? What do you think about Talos? What do you think about the golden maidens that were created by Hephaestus himself to help him in his workshop as he created weapons and traps and built everything for the Olympian gods? You tell me. Love to hear from you. And this stuff is, again, like I said, I'm sure there's been an ancient aliens something on this. I'm sure there has. Like I said, they've kind of covered every angle so far, which is pretty good. What's up, Adana? I love our Rockfin group. There you go. Same here. So I don't know. You tell me. Is this real? Is this not real? Or am I stretching the imagination just a little bit too far? So that's what we're going to do tonight. That's what we're talking about. And of course, then the definition of a robot comes into question, meaning that is it like we describe it today, or is it more magic? Is it more like a golem sort of situation? Is it more summoning a spirit from elsewhere and putting it into an inanimate object, and then the spirit maybe takes over and becomes something else, becomes what would be perceived as a robot? I think that's the question tonight. That's what's going on, and I don't know. Lots of questions, lots of good thoughts on this, and looking to hear from you. Like I said, am I off the rails? I know I'm a little flustered because I'm, timing, rhythm, everything gets screwed up when there's technical issues. But I don't know. You guys tell me. Does this seem real enough to maybe consider as something happening with this? Or again, this scholar from Stanford is writing a book regarding this called exactly this: Gods and Robots. And, I don't know. It seems like one of those things where, academia kind of craps on everything until they don't, right? And then once they're writing about it, then it's okay to talk about. Well, that's why we do this show, because we think it's okay to talk about anyway. We don't need an academic to tell us it's okay. But, I think it's a pretty good premise. Again, Adrian Mayer writing the Gods and Robots. So let's do this. Let's go to the we got a phone call coming in. Which we will do in just a moment. So, okay, I see you guys call in. Thank you so much. I'll get to you in just one moment here. We're going to take a quick break because we are on the radio clock again and on Fringe. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll get to you guys. Thanks, James, and thanks. I think it looks like Vicky there. We'll get to you guys in just a moment. And so hang tight. Don't go anywhere. We're still doing our thing. Like I said, I apologize for being a little bit out of sorts, but when everything breaks just when you start, that's kind of what happens. That's kind of what happens to your brain. Everything breaks and you go, oh God, what now? But okay, anyway. So as we wind this down, top of the hour here coming up. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Tonight we are talking about ancient robots, gods and robots, as it were. Adrian Mayer is writing a book. An academic from Stanford, and well, now we've been given the go-ahead to talk about it, so we're talking about him. So that's what's up. That's what's on my mind tonight. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More after the break. Hang on the phone, guys. We'll be with you as soon as we come back from the commercials here. We are talking about the alien abduction phenomenon.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing fantastic. And through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. People are random images as they traverse neurons in your brain.
All right, so maybe,
and they also feel them planting.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
All right. Welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you whom we also have troubled minds. We are live tonight. This is the show where we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. We do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific. And what are those things, you may ask? Yeah. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. We're taking your phone calls since we're streaming on Rockfin, DLive, YouTube, and Twitter. We're also broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. Thank you to Joe Roop for hooking us up with that. Technical difficulties edition. Things happen in live shows. And we're talking about robots tonight, but not just robots like you would expect. We're talking about robots from the old days. Hephaestus supposedly built Talos in Greek mythology. And Talos, this bronze robot, ran around the island of Crete, throwing boulders at passing ships to keep the island safe from intruders. So the question tonight becomes this. Do you think that's real? Do you think that thousands of years ago there was possibly some sort of technology that was happening that allowed the creation of robots? Do you think there was some technology that, or maybe even spellcraft, wizardry, what have you, ritual, whatever it's going to be? And again, so is it real, number one? Do you think it's possible? And number two, it brings into question in my mind what actually is a robot. Because like I said, if you look at the modern robots and try and compare them to the old days, clearly we're talking about two very different things. Am I right? I hope so. So that's what's on my mind tonight. If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can also join the Discord at troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. It's right on top. Also, join the Fringe Discord as well at fringe.fm/chat, and we'll put you right on the show. Just jump on the caller queue. All right, here we go. Let's go to James. James in Michigan. Thank you so much for calling, my friend. How are you tonight?
I'm okay. Glad to be here, and great subject.
Thank you.
I'm hearing an echo, but I think it's gone now. Okay. Yeah. Great subject. And I heard you asking for calls, and I just had a couple of thoughts.
Sure. Go right ahead. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, no problem. Well, I was thinking, and I'm not sure, I'm not looking at chat right now, but this has me wondering if a lot of the old mythological creatures weren't some kind of robot as well.
Meaning
they were created different, through different means, and maybe they didn't even look exactly like a lot of the ancient descriptions say or show they did.
Right, like
maybe they even,
like for instance, like the Hydra or a chimera or something like this. Yeah. The old type days. That actually, Night Stalker adds in the chat here. Maybe they're not made of metal at all, and it seems to be exactly what you're describing here, right? Yeah, and I mean maybe they don't look as. What I mean by they don't look the same as in drawings and stuff. Maybe they're not quite. They're almost like maybe they would look almost like robots today, where they have like seams or joints that are visible. Maybe they looked a lot more simple back then, but they were still something amazing to the people that were in those times. So they kind of drew them the only way they could, or described them the only way they could. And so that's why we think of them more as biological creatures now, and or just made up. Right, exactly, because there's nothing like it today, so you would expect that they're just making up tall tales, right? Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So do you think then there is some sort of maybe mechanical knowledge that was kind of maybe enacted by Hephaestus or even prior to him, and that those stories where maybe they were able to build these sort of robots, or do you think it's different, maybe witchcraft or something like this? Maybe not witchcraft, that's a poor term, but maybe like some sort of ritual, kind of like we said, golems or other things like that. What's your take there? I think it's possible. I also think, and maybe, I don't know if you're going to get to this or not, but I seem to remember hearing that Da Vinci made a robot or two in his time. Exactly, yes. Yes, I've got a list of robots that were kind of made in not so contemporary times. So so Da Vinci did.
Right.
He created some robots that were supposed to run on their own. And so I mean, so that, that's not quite Greek mythology time, but if people are thinking in those terms without the easy technology of, AC power and all the rest of the stuff, like I said, microchips and AI and all the rest, you got to wonder if people, far enough back, maybe with lost technology, like some have said, maybe Atlantis, maybe, what's the other one? It'll come to me. But there's, supposedly they say that we lost technology throughout the millennia here. So I wonder, do you think it is? Is it one thing or the other? Or do you think it's even possible, I guess, is really what this is about? Are we just making crap up tonight, James? What's going on, brother?
I always say, I think anything is possible. I think that maybe there could be some that were somehow given consciousness. That's the part that interests me, is where did it come from? Was it some kind of artificial, but then was it artificially created, or did people figure out how to summon different things and put them into what they made?
Right. So which means, again, is it magic or is it technology? Or is once technology is so sufficiently advanced, it seems like magic, and so here we are chasing our tail in circles, chasing our tail as always. Yeah. I don't know. Do you know a lot of Greek mythology, or are these stories familiar to you, or are you hearing this for the first time?
I've heard little bits and pieces. I still need to dig into a lot of mythology. I've heard little bits and pieces. I didn't hear about this part though, but that's I love the topic. It's very your brain can go, your mind can go so many ways with it.
Yeah, totally, exactly right. Good thoughts here. Anything else while we got you on, my friend?
Nope, that was it.
You're the best. You're the best, James. Thanks for bailing me out. Always helping me out. James, everybody check out his podcast. This is James from Salcedo Paranormal. Check it out. You can find it. It's linked right down and below on the YouTube page. And just like it sounds, Salcedo, Salsido Paranormal. Thanks, my friend. Appreciate you calling in. Talk to you soon.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. There you go. So we're taking your thoughts on this. Again, I don't know. I don't have the answers. As you know, I'm not the answers guy, or else I just say, okay, the answers are the answers and the show's over. That's one, it's a lot less fun. Two, it's very presumptuous about a ton of things, because clearly nobody has all the answers. And it would make for a really lousy talk show, wouldn't it? You could turn on Don Lemon or Sean Hannity if you want all the answers. But okay, here we go. Thank you for the call, James. 702-957-1037. Thank you for waiting so much. Vicky, welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
Hi, Michael. Good
Hello.
evening. Thanks for having me on. I really don't think that the whole idea of robots are the same idea that we have as robots now. I think it's just something mechanical. Like even the slide rule for the Chinese math, it is something to do it. Because what was our first idea of any kind of robots was a calculator.
Yes, the abacus, right?
Yes. And so I don't think that it's the same idea that we have now, and with the artificial intelligence or some creature. But however, I do believe that it is possible that we learned about some of this stuff through aliens.
Yes. The ancient astronaut theory that maybe, and I think that's probably where this may lead if you follow it kind of down the rabbit hole far enough, is that if you're talking about maybe the ancient Greeks and you go back maybe 5,000 years ago for some of this mythology stuff, some of those Anunnaki stories go back like 750,000 years, right? Like 750,000 years. So I would imagine that if, they were actually landed on Earth like they've described, created the slave race of the Igigi, and maybe have their own robots as such, that maybe even Hephaestus was using Anunnaki technology. Is that what we're talking about now?
Yeah. But time, since we've progressed in time, we've actually stepped backwards with our knowledge versus what it used to be. Even with before the Great Flood and stuff, they were supposed to have been so much ahead of us than how we are now.
Yeah, so
but I really don't feel it's the same as what we have now,
Yeah.
Our idea of what robots are.
I gotcha. So they're two very different things. So what do you think then, again, like let's say Hephaestus, like I've described, created this robot named Talos. Do you think he was sort of mechanical in any capacity, or do you think it was more of like a magical situation where he maybe had some inanimate thing he built and maybe called a spirit into it from somewhere else?
I think it's more of a mechanical thing and somebody else trying to control it.
Okay. All right. Through what means? Any idea there? I'm not gonna. I know you probably haven't thought a ton about this. Neither have I. So I'm not gonna put the screws to you here. But any thoughts on what that may be?
Well,
what the actual life force behind this could be?
If it's going around the island and throwing rocks and stuff, maybe it's a what is it called? A catapult.
Oh, yeah, that's a hell of an idea. On like tracks around the island or something. Maybe it's the first locomotive.
Yeah.
That's an idea.
Somebody pushing it or pulling it.
Oh, interesting. Okay, now look, let's think about fooling the ships that drive by. Let's put a catapult on like a track system, very much like a locomotive, like we said, like a train. Have people push it around the island, but there's a giant bronze bust of looks like a machine, a robot, something on top that's actually not mobile, but it looks like it because they're pushing it around. I love the way you think. That's a fantastic idea. That would scare the hell out of any ships going by, wouldn't it?
It would. Heck, it would scare me.
Yeah, hell yes. Imagine. Yeah, so think about it this way: you're cruising through the ocean there, and rocks start getting chucked out at you, and you look in at the island and see, and there's some like bronze thing shaped like a man, a large man that seems to be throwing these rocks, and that could all be done through just trickery. Yeah. I like it. Maybe not supernatural at all. Maybe just people tricking each other.
Yep. And even look at this horse for Troy.
Yeah, the Trojan horse. Yep.
They tried to say that, like it was a horse, but it really wasn't. But they filled it up with people and things, to fight people. But was it really a robot? No. It was something to kill people. And with enough tricking, they convinced people otherwise.
Yeah, that it was the gift from the gods or some of these other things. But it was simply, as we know, a hollow wooden horse. Very, very simple. Yeah, good stuff. Like I said, I like the way you think here, that maybe there's some misconstrued tales that have been maybe exaggerated or just plain missed throughout the millennia. So fantastic stuff. You are the best, Vicky. Anything else while we got you on the phone tonight?
Nope, that should do it. You're the best.
Perfect. No, you're the best. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for calling. I'll see you over on Rockfin. Have a great night.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Vicky. There we go. If you want to be part of the show, we're talking about robots tonight, but not just normal robots from the modern era. We're talking about ancient robots. And there you go. There's some thoughts. Sometimes, right, like sometimes maybe we get ahead of ourselves. I definitely do, and kind of want to jump to Lovecraftian portals and the old ones. But, sometimes maybe we're talking about stories that are just not quite exactly as they seem. Maybe we've misconstrued a bunch of this. And it's been, they are Greek myths after all, and so that's what's on my mind tonight. That's the question: if Hephaestus, the Greek god of of fire, the Greek god of the hearth, and the blacksmith of the gods, was actually creating robots back in the day, do you think that's real? Do you think it's actually part of what was going on, or do you think that there's something else to this? And again, there's a great take there by Vicky that describes maybe it was some sort of trickery, some sort of way to make people believe there was a robot running around the Isle of Crete and throwing rocks at people, but it was just a disguised catapult. I love it. This is why we talk about these things and get a lot of people together, because when you do, you get some ideas that you maybe never had considered. So thank you. Great stuff as always, Vicky, and looking to hear from you. What do you guys think about this? And once again, it calls to mind to me anyway, is there something here regarding the definition of a robot from our time to the ancient times? And like James described, maybe this is a circular thing. Like we talked about the Ouroboros of devouring itself. Maybe technology devours itself after some amount of time. Think of it this way. Let's say there was technology back 5,000 years ago or so, and they were able to create robots, okay? And maybe it wasn't AI. Maybe it was through, let's call it sorcery. And let's say that if all this is true, that at some point maybe this technology was lost, maybe with the Library of Alexandria burning, maybe with the Great Flood, maybe with a combination of things. And maybe, think about it in modern terms, if we're on the cusp of Elon Musk creating these robots like we talked about not too long ago, and I described as you guys soon in our lifetimes in the next 10 years, we're going to be running down on Black Friday fighting people for the pallet of $799 robots that are going to do our dishes and do our laundry type of thing. It's coming. If that's the case, then is there a point in the future when we, some knucklehead leader of some rogue nation somewhere starts World War III, then we would lose the ability to build robots anyway, wouldn't we? Like it would, as they say, what was Einstein? Something to the effect that if he does know that if World War III happens, it's going to be fought after that with sticks and stones, something like this. I forgot the exact quote, but it's basically going to level technology. It's going to decimate all the knowledge we've had, horrific death, and all the rest of this, as you would expect, like some sort of nuclear war might. But then we would be knocked back to the Stone Age, and technology would start over again, and there would be stories. Okay, let's again think of a post-apocalyptic world. Maybe 1,000 years from now, after a third world war, then there would be stories of robots of old, wouldn't there? So maybe we have some situation like this where there was a cataclysm of sorts that maybe wiped that technology off the map. And so here we are again, everything, nothing new under the sun, just rediscovering technology of old. So I don't know. I think that's the thing here is just kind of going through my thoughts and again, with the help of you guys. Like I said, it's weird, right? Sometimes we fire up a show and I'm like, okay, I got, 3 or 4, kind of tangent branch type thoughts on this that go different ways, but then you guys call and turn this into something else entirely, which is what this is all about. This is why we have the conversation with an open line, multiple open lines. This is why we have the Discord rolling. This is why we do what we do, and I appreciate you guys hanging out and being part of this. 702-957-1037. Allison says a CME could do it, which would be a coronal mass ejection. That would be a solar flare. So that's the type of thing that maybe as technology kind of explodes and becomes whatever it was, technology, again, Ouroboros, technology maybe eats itself. the circular life and death of not just people and civilizations. Maybe technology happens in the same manner, which of course would explain why there's no aliens landing on the White House lawn, by the way, because they're not actually out there. All right, so good stuff. Let's see. Let's go to let's go to Rohan. Rohan, whenever you're ready, my friend. I didn't want to cut you off with a commercial, but you're welcome to stay through it. So, what's up, the mighty Rohan? Welcome to the show. How are you, my friend?
I'm not too bad. I'm enjoying the show. It's a good one. This I like the. Who don't like robots, man? Well, I'm a bloke on it, so.
Yeah, hell yeah. So what do you think with the robots, man? You think that again, technology begets technology until we destroy it, and then we have to start all over, or do you think there's maybe some magical something to this?
Yeah, I want to bring some normal nature into it as well, because I don't know. I don't necessarily subscribe to this guy, but there's a guy called Roger, of the mud fossil stuff, and he talks about like giants, but it goes a bit too far for me. But he also talks about these what he seemed to have. There have been these creatures in the past that he thinks are robots, calls them no toes because they don't seem to have any toes. And he looks at these rocks that look like feet, and he will try and identify the heels and stuff. But the interesting thing about them is they seem to have these springs on them. Do you know what I mean? If they are what he thinks they are, they've got springs on the soles of the feet, and he identifies lines which connects them to the what would be the back of the calf muscle. Do you know what I mean? Like the heel, like looking at the structure. And it's interesting that insects happen to have, they've got gears in the knees. Some insects, like grasshoppers type stuff, so they can like winch it back, and that's how they can do them explosive jumps. So nature has gears anyway. Do you know what I'm saying? And people have been studying this stuff for a long, we've been around for a while, and people have made automatons since forever. So people have been fascinated by making these things. So you've got the mechanical angle, using nature. There was a French guy in the 1930s, French inventor, Jacques de Vaucanson. He made a duck that could like walk around and eat grain out of like a digestive system. So it's like, well, people have been doing this. So and there's that thing about, like, say, about the golems. Can you animate them with a little bit of life as well? So then they haven't got to just stick to the same programming. Maybe they get a little bit of sentience. Do you know what I'm saying? And then I'm wondering, well, there's this things that doing incantations on things. Or what about this, Michael? What about the thing of orgone energy? Wilhelm Reich and all that stuff. We're talking chi and prana. Right, he was saying that's the thing that animates life. Yeah, and he made them argon generators, and people talk about pyramid power like being collectors. So maybe that's a way that you infuse these automatons that you make, either a bit naturally or a bit mechanically. Maybe you can infuse it, not necessarily with some black magic, but technologically by putting them in some orgone generator chamber or some orgone generator pyramid. Nice. And it's a bit like the Frankenstein thing, giving it the spark of life.
Love it. Rohan, I hate to cut you off. We got to take a break. Can you hang around after the break?
Yeah, sure, no worries.
All right, be right back with you. This is Troubled Minds on Michael Strange. We're here with the mighty Rohan. We're talking about robots of ancient times. Don't go anywhere. More after the break. Thanks, Rohan. I want to mute you up. Come get you in a sec. All right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, D-Live, YouTube, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. We're taking your phone calls. If you want to be part of the show tonight, the number to call is 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And tonight we are talking about robots, but not just robots of modern times. We're talking about ancient robots. Hephaestus, the Greek god of the blacksmith god of the Greeks, was basically said to have created robots back in the day, thousands of years ago. Do you think this is a real thing? Do you think this is just stories? Do you think that we're talking about lost technology? Do you think what is going on here? It seems like if you ask the ancient astronaut theorists, they would say yes. Well, but I'm not talking to those folks. I'm talking to you. What do you think? Ancient astronaut theorists maybe say maybe. What's up? We're here with Rohan, the mighty Rohan. Welcome back to the show. How are you, my friend? The mighty.
I'm an ancient maybe juice theorist, and I say guzzle, guzzle, guzzle.
Right, totally. Drink the maybe juice. All right, so you were on a roll here talking about how there were before we had to take a break about how maybe there's a natural something to this, like maybe crickets or grasshoppers have maybe gears or springs built into them. It's how grasshoppers can jump super high. Crickets make that crazy noise that they're chirping in the night sky because it's sort of a mechanical thing going on with their legs. They rub them together like a musical instrument of such. But you were also onto something else there. But go ahead with your thoughts, my man.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking along the works of, I think about, like, bear this bit in mind. In Transformers, they call it the spark, don't they? They're talking about the spark of life. Yeah, they're talking about that thing. What's that magical thing that takes the difference between just the parts of the thing and it actually being, conscious or living? Right, and I was thinking along them lines, because these automatons that get made, they're kind of the pre-programmed, they're sophisticatedly done. They're very clever, but they're on a pre-programmed loop, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? A little duck will go and flap around and do its thing and take grain out your hand, and it's great, but it can't. It's a program, isn't it? Do you know what I'm saying? It can't do anything else other than those things. So I was thinking, well, in terms of this spark of life stuff, talking like ki, chi, prana, spirit force, yeah. Well, Sigmund Freud and Kinsey, I can't remember his first name, and Wilhelm Reich, they were some people that was interested in psychology and people and was interested in studying sexuality. And you've got Sigmund Freud doing a psychodynamic analysis. But Wilhelm Reich was interested in what's the energy that animates things. So they all studied orgasms, right, and went away and did their own studies. And Wilhelm Reich famously made those orgone generators, and was able to make it rain and stuff. Okay, and so a lot of people think these things collect this orgone life force energy. And there's a thing about the shape of a pyramid in terms of the nature of reality, where it kind of collects things naturally because it's got that point. So, there's this thing called pyramid power. And I was just wondering, if you combine these two things together, can you then pull that sort of spark of life that animates things into an object? Do you know what I mean? And maybe that's what spell casting and incantations is. Do you know what I'm saying? So maybe you can mass produce these kind of robots. Maybe you can make them mechanically based on natural principles, right? So it's not, weird or anything. It's not woo-woo. It's a thing you might naturally develop. But then maybe somebody might figure out you can use a bit of this esoteric stuff, And if you find out if you put it in a pyramid, and that pyramid's made of something that's natural and metallic, resin and metal, then it allows the orgone energy to collect in the middle, and then you're putting the spark of life into it. Maybe if you charge it up enough, boom, it comes alive. A bit like with the Captain America thing. Maybe if you get over a certain threshold, maybe you somehow programmed a bit of consciousness into it. Do you know what I mean? Now your robot that was designed to be a machine to do jobs for you gets a bit of consciousness where it just thinks, oh, my job is to do jobs for you.
Yeah, I like it. So not only we're talking about possibly lost technology, we're talking about pyramid power and being able to maybe so this would be a golem of sorts, wouldn't it? Except it wouldn't be with it would not be microchips and AC powered or solar power as we talk about nuclear power. Even it would be, once again, back to that whole technology thing. Is it possible that we have actually forgotten this ancient technology that we think is magic, and it's just simply not science that we just again have not rediscovered? Right? That's what you're getting at here.
That's what I'm getting at, yeah. And at this kind of a point in a conversation, I always have to recommend the book Jonathan Gray, Dead Man's Secrets, because it gives over 900 examples of these kinds of things, little things that are just that's just simple and clever and better than us.
Yeah, hell yeah. And I think, if you spend enough time kind of looking into history, there's a ton of things that we forgot. We simply forget, Greek fire comes to mind, some of this type of stuff that was, feared in the ancient world that we have no idea what it is now. We're just trying to make our best guess of what it may have been. What if that was, strapping a dragon to the front of your boat? You know what I mean? There's your Greek fire.
but yeah, exactly. It's all that stuff. And like I say, saying this, and then you look at like another one of these in this world is the Antikythera mechanism. You know, that famous box that they found, which is the X-rayed in. It's got about 70 different cogs in it, and it's different. You know, it does the clock and the position of the stars and stuff. And it's like they're saying that's out of place because it's far too old. You know, I'm sure you've heard of that one. And then you get thinking, well, obviously people knew about cogs and systems. So then I get going to thinking about even just without having this kind of esoteric charging situation, even steam power. I wonder if that goes back a lot longer than what we think. Maybe even in more recent times, you know, because I've heard prestigious remote viewers remote view that 1561 celestial event over Nuremberg. It sounds a bit like a little alien fight. But I've heard one of them one time, that when they first started remote viewing it, they were talking about a steam train to begin with before they went on into the scene of the Nuremberg celestial event. And I thought, well, that's 1561. Didn't have steam trains then. That's not till a couple of hundred years later. Do you know what I mean? So then I get thinking, well, maybe steam power goes a lot further back than we realise, or it keeps getting lost and found again. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense that we would, forget, especially with, the Dark Ages, with plagues and all kinds of just crazy stuff that happened throughout history. I mean, it's not really that difficult to pick out just terrible times that lots of people died, times of gigantic war or whatever, what have you, that it would make sense. Like, again, back to the Library of Alexandria, that burned to the ground. Maybe just a ton of history, a ton of technology was lost just with one singular event.
Yes.
Yeah. And again, not even talking about some of the Great Flood, talking about, like I said, the Dark Ages, the bubonic plague, things like this. That would definitely send kind of people back to the Stone Age in terms of, the bubonic plague. Would they say 1 in 3 people in Europe died? It was 1 in 3. That's like, my goodness gracious. There goes all your carpenters and all the knowledge of the old days, right? All your scientists that even if they were crude, it was still, science is always standing on the shoulders of giants, moving forward from the last guy that taught you something, right? And if
that's it, yeah. There's a Stargate Atlantis episode about that. I think they were called the Hoffman race, or what they did, because there's these baddies in that show where every now and again these aliens will come awake and start feeding on half the galaxy. So what they did, the Hoffmans, they used to build these super duper secret underground bunkers that were just gigantic libraries, and they used to preserve it. So every time there was a culling, they'd have these libraries hidden. Do you know what I mean? So they'd always preserve the knowledge, because they figured, well, if it's going to keep happening and they come and smash all your technology up, we just need to hide this and make these massive libraries and just keep collecting it for centuries and centuries and never lose any of it. So they did the opposite of the Library of Alexandria. So I thought that's pretty smart.
Yeah.
And they figured out a way to kill them.
Exactly. Here's a great thought in the Fringe Discord here. TLC in Nevada says, were the Nephilim robots? Maybe Goliath? Did David simply turn off the switch with, of course, the famous sling when he took down Goliath, the giant?
The off button. Good shot.
I love it. A great thought there. Yeah, who knows? And I kind of was thinking to maybe bring the giants into this, right? Because there are some loose connections of maybe if there were automatons or actual robots of the past, that they would be mistaken for actual giants, right? So maybe there is a connection there.
Yeah, the men of renown.
Yeah. Goliath. There it is, illustrated right there in my face. Maybe David found the off switch.
Because then in the full story, isn't he kills Goliath, but he had some brothers, so they went after to go and kill the other giant brothers as well. So maybe they went to go and turn them off.
Yeah. Who knows? Again, right? Layers and layers of this stuff. Yeah, so I don't know. Thank you so much for bailing me out as usual, man. Everybody else for calling in tonight. Like I said, you guys try and start a live show and have everything go awry, and then you have to try and tech support on the way and figure things out as you go. Your mind is in 10 different places. It's hard. So thank you. I know tonight was kind of a mess, but hey, that's live shows for you. So thank you, everybody who called in and kind of bailed me out tonight. But what do you think? Anything else while we got you on? I know you got some fantastic ideas about a lot of this stuff. You seem to be in tune with the zeitgeist in many ways. So anything else you want to maybe bring a point about regarding ancient robots?
Well, that was it, man. That was just that thing of like, I think like there's a natural angle to look at it, and like I say, and then there's this sort of esoteric charging thing, and of course you always got to bring it back to that how far back do our civilizations go? Do you know what I'm saying? Because there's the old saying: there's more than one way to skin a cat, as it goes. There's so many ways to do things. You know, and I just want to sort of leave it with this universe that we live in. It's all abundance. It's just a case of how do you get to the things and how do you get the things made. We can do just about anything. So I think that's why a lot of these things are turning out to be true, because it's like so many things are possible, and it's all about the knowledge, isn't it, Mike?
All about the knowledge. All about sharing it. All about trying to move it forward, man. Absolutely, it is. Rohan, you're the best. Thank you so much for hopping in and giving us your takes on this stuff. Always great.
Take care. Thanks so much.
Thanks, bro. You too. There you go. You guys want to be part of the show? We're talking about robots. Again, ancient robots, going back to the time of Hephaestus and Greek mythology. He was said to have built a robot by the name of Talos, and also in his entire workshop as the blacksmith of the gods, as it were, the blacksmith of Olympus, he was actually had created an army, or at least a small workforce of golden assistants that were, of course, not golems as we know them. They were actually robots that he forged himself and created, and they were able to work on their own and do things as instructed, just like a workforce would be, right? And I think that's the strangeness of this, is when you start looking at these stories and go a little bit more in depth and think about where this stuff came from. Think about it. Like, they were talking about robots thousands of years ago. And I think that's the weirdness here, is that, were they predicting this? Or, once again, were there things that were happening that, even if they were fooled to believe that maybe some quasi-mechanical things like Vicky described, maybe Talos on the island of Crete was some sort of contraption built to fool people and think it was a robot, but it really wasn't. I don't know. Lots to think about here, considering technology, how it comes and goes in cycles, and maybe it repeats itself as we continue to find new things. We lose the things, and then we have to recapture them again down the road. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? As always, looking to hear from you. 702-957-1037. Thanks again for bailing me out, everybody. I want to point this out too. I'm going to add this into the conversation tonight, because clearly there are lots of ways to take this, to take the ancient robots, right? So if they were building them then, it kind of has me thinking in terms of AI and you guessed it, mass surveillance. So check this out. This is one of those things. This is from yahoo.com, and very much like we described not too long ago, we did the Elon Musk show where Tesla is going to build a robot because what's his name? Mr. Musk said that if somebody's going to do robots, it's got to be me. Because I'm going to do it right, where everybody else is not. And so there's some strangeness here regarding this. Check this out. This is from Yahoo News, and you'll never believe this. Amazon unveils science fiction robot that can patrol homes. Patrol homes. All right. So clearly, this is not an ancient robot, but they have created a digital watchdog of sorts, right? And so this is what would you call this? It's not just your Ring doorbell. This is an actual automaton, is it not? It's got a big eyeballs on a screen that look like it's watching you, isn't it? Here we go. So this gets a little creepy, even more creepy. It goes, Amazon revealed a camera-equipped home robot Tuesday that users can deploy to patrol their houses, a device that one of the project's developers said was making science fiction a reality. The tech giant cheered the Astro robot as a breakthrough for security and convenience, but digital watchdogs raised concerns for potential risks to people's most private moments at home. Oh, what's going on? You guys weren't having sex, were you? I was just patrolling the house, making sure that everybody was safe. Sorry to storm in you on the toilet. We're going to just send that information to the cloud and let the Amazon techs laugh at you for crapping. Anyway, Astro is a roughly 2 foot tall and 20-pound device that can map out a house floor plan and obey commands to go to a specific place to take a closer look with its telescoping camera. Quote, now when you are away, you can use it to proactively patrol your home and investigate activity, Amazon executive Dave Limp said in a product launch clip. The device, which can work with Amazon's digital home assistant Alexa, can be taught to recognize faces and learn the habits of household members. All right, well, there it is. Maybe this is a Hephaestus returned. Maybe this is the technology. Like I said, not too long ago, just 4 shows ago, I believe, we were talking about Elon Musk building these robots because, he said he had to do it because if he didn't, everybody else was going to do it and not do it well. And, well, maybe here's an example of that. So this thing is going to be able to patrol your house. It's going to learn your habits, and it's going to, it's going to be your digital watchdog. And not only that, of course, with the, as we know, there's been a lot of actual scandals with the Ring doorbell, which I'll drop the links in here as well. Check this out. With, privacy. All right, with privacy, okay, and specifically that the Ring doorbell is not just watching the front of your house; it's also watching you. By the way, who comes and goes more often than anybody at your house? Yeah, that's right. It's you. It's you. So what is that thing actually watching? Sure, fine, it's watching people walk by in the neighborhood as they're walking their dogs or something. But for the most part, it's keeping tabs on you, meaning when you leave, when you come back, what your schedule is, all the rest of this stuff. It knows where you're going and what you're doing. And that's just a Ring doorbell. It's fixed. It's in one place. All right. Now imagine. You have this robot, the science fiction robot that can patrol homes. And yeah, that's right. It's going to learn your habits, and it's going to learn your habits so it can be convenient, right? Again, as always, it's about your safety. It's about your convenience, right? Everything is about those things. And I don't know. Anyway, there's more from here. This is pretty good. Amazon said Astro could be useful to help remotely check on elderly relatives or deliver reminders for certain activities. There it is. See, it's all about safety. Remember the old show, or the bad commercial? Help! I'm falling and I can't get up. And they push the button to bring help, right? Well, you don't need to because the robot will alert itself when you fall down and will call the cops for you, right? I wonder what else it will call the cops on you for. just asking for a friend. Let's see. Matthew, a policy analyst at digital watchdog group Electronic Frontier Foundation, Matthew Guardelia, raised concerns about the device potentially allowing hackers to see into a user's home or police seeking access to it via a search warrant. Well, yes, there you go. If you ever wanted to know what a biosensor meant, it means a dog. It means a dog, like a flesh and blood dog, D-O-G, and they say dog is God spelled backwards, isn't it? Dog, an actual dog that is not like linked up to the cloud and reporting on you to the powers that be. This is, let's see, what did Night Stalker saying here? The Big Brother bot, the Big Bro bot. There you go, the Big Bro bot. This is it. This is it. Like I said, if you thought a Ring doorbell was creepy, well, here you go. Congratulations. It's now been upgraded to this science fiction robot known as they've named it cheerfully Astro. Oh, isn't that adorable? Isn't that adorable? It's a patrol bot. That's what it is. You're right. And not only that, it's for your convenience. It's for your safety. It has nothing to do with learning your habits, so they can, sell you toilet paper at the particular time you need it. It has nothing to do with that, I'm sure. Out of condoms, are you? Well, the robot noticed and said, put in an order for... Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. Anyway, I thought it was a nice tie-in to this conversation about robots and how maybe technology isn't exactly, what we think it is. And including today, right? Including Amazon or whatever the hell's going on with this. Maybe robots of the ancient days were not exactly as we would imagine them to be as well. And so, again, that's what I said. Sorry about the weirdness tonight. My brain is a little bit off because of all the technical stuff and trying trying to fix, too many things at once, and well, the show suffers. And so it suffered a little bit, but that's okay. What can you do? Sometimes things break, and that's why you guys tune into a live show, honestly. Otherwise, you just listen to the podcast. You want to see when shit hits the fan? Oh, excuse me. When crap hits the fan, you want to be there to see it. So there we go. Pardon my French. So as we wind this down, that's the question. I don't know. We're still taking your phone calls. We're going to keep talking about this because there's lots of ways into this. We'll get into Hephaestus and some of the other stuff. There's a list of maybe ancient robots that we can go through. There's tons of information regarding this. It's not just the one Talos and Hephaestus and his assistants of golden maidens, as they're called. There's more. There's actually more versions of ancient robots. And again, as always, I don't know the answers here. I'm not trying to convince you of anything, but it just makes me wonder if this stuff really is maybe lost technology, or let's say that it's maybe technology undiscovered as of yet, and we still believe it to be magic. I think that's the thing. Yeah, there you go. Jay says it right. No, swear jar. Mike was first. So that's what's going on tonight. Thanks again for dealing with the technical issues. It happens, as you guys know, listening to a live show. It just sometimes stuff breaks. And that's the way it goes. So as we finish this up, you guys know the drill. If you're listening on the Fringe FM, thanks again to Joe Roop for helping us fix this and get this right. He's broadcasting us manually so that we can be on the Fringe. So thank you for that, Joe. If you are listening on the Fringe FM, stay tuned for Joe himself. Joe Roop Lighting the Void will be on at 9 p.m. and that's Pacific time, and that's going to be midnight Eastern. And if you're listening to us on any of the other platforms, that's going to be DLive, that's going to be YouTube, Rockfin, or Twitter. Stay tuned for a third hour of Troubled Minds. And as we finish, boy, I tell you what, some go easier than others. But thank you for hanging out with us. Like I always say, I'm honored by that. I know you could be doing a million other things with your time, but you're here with us tonight. And thank you for that. And as we finish, you know the drill. Be sure, be strong, be true. We'll be back tomorrow night at 7 p.m., God willing. And thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. Boom. Right on time. All right, so we should be off the Fringe. Thanks again. Sorry about that. Sorry about the whole debacle. Thanks again to Joe Roop for putting us on halfway through there. It is what it is. Sometimes software updates and it breaks everything, and what can you do? So we are going to be doing a third hour of Troubled Minds, and as you know, we can go all over the place. We can talk about that Amazon robot. We can talk about Hephaestus. We can talk about ancient robots like we've been talking about. We can do whatever you want to do, basically. That's why we do the third hour. Like I said, I know that engagement's been a little bit low because I've been kind of a wreck and all over the place, but it is what it is. We're going to keep on trucking. If I decided to quit the first time there were bumpy waters, we'd have quit a long ass time ago. So no biggie. We're going to keep on doing our thing and talking about weird shit. And if you want to be part of the show, love to have you. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And this is what the third hour is for extra time to kind of get off the radio clock and just be able to drop an S-bomb or an F-bomb here or there and not worry about it, and get together and talk to each other. So 2-minute break, more Troubled Minds coming up, 702-957-1037. Daryl, let me know in the chat if you want to hop in. We'll put you in, and you can be on the show. I see you in the caller queue, but I don't know if you were ready. So let me know in the chat. We'll come back and talk to you and Derek in just a moment. 2-minute break, more Troubled Minds coming up. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. And I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we're talking about ancient robots tonight. And what does that mean, of course? There's a whole lot to it. Is it, again, magic, as we've described many times on this show? Is it possible to maybe conjure things and bring about, well, how would you say, golems of a sort, right? Is there something to that? I think that's maybe the question here as we begin and continue into the third hour of Troubled Minds, which of course is basically like the free-for-all hour. This is where we can kind of let our hair down and kind of just take this conversation wherever you guys want it to go, as always, but with no interruptions. We don't have any radio clocks or any of that to do, so we just talk to you. So let's see. All right, ready and willing. Okay, so here we go. We got a couple calls we're going to go to. We're still taking your phone calls talking about this stuff. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And we'll put you on the show. You can also join the Discord at troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. And we got a couple folks here in the Discord. Let's go to Daryl in New York. Daryl, welcome to the show. How are you, my friend?
Hi, Michael. How are you doing?
It is what it is. I'm fine though. It's okay. I yeah, it's okay. It's like I said, it's not my first rodeo. So when shit breaks halfway through or right at the beginning, well, we've had much worse than this. So it's really no biggie. I just am more apologetic to you guys because, well, it kind of makes for a lesser quality type of thing. But what is? It is what it is. It is what it is. But
no, you were fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. We just needed a little bit of a warm up to get inspired. You inspire us. And
thank you.
It's like a snowball,
Yeah. Thank you. That's hopefully the idea. If I'm doing it right, that's hopefully the idea. So what do you think about this robot stuff? The ancient robots. Is there something to this again, or do you think this is just fanciful stories?
Oh no, I think I have a few things I want to mention about this. Rohan mentioned the giants. I'm very fascinated by giants. I'm sure that they were giants. There's a lot of proof of it. And I was wondering, why do we always are ashamed of them? I don't know why we don't want to talk about giants or we keep on hiding them. It seems like everything gets a reset, though. Why does everything get reset every 5,000 years or something? And how bad does it, I figure technology just gets so good that we get so lazy and we get rid of religion, we get rid of our jobs, and we have free energy and we have robots doing our, all our jobs and fetching our meals and, doing all of our work. And we have lost our morality. Suddenly we don't have any guidance. I mean, religion is very good for morality. Where do you get your inspiration from? And why do we destroy each other? Or maybe it's not necessarily our own faults, but I think we have proof at least of our own destruction, maybe not as far as even 5,000 years ago. So you figure most of the people that, had the robots probably got destroyed. And the only people that are left are the people that it doesn't affect at all. They're in the jungle, they're endemic to the region, and, they're living their lives the same way they've always lived for thousands of years. So there's the survivors. Maybe they stumble across a civilization and go, oh, this is cool. And that's how, the next batch is going to be, created. Who knows, Why do we always have this reset? But I think that might be our own fault. And I think we have proof of the proof of the giants is these underground things like in Antarctica, which probably was either maybe 5,000 years ago or 20 million years ago. That's under the ice for God knows how long. It could have been Atlantis. And they still have that ambient lighting that still works, and it's also climate controlled. That's from the whistleblowers that Linda Moulton Howe has been talking to, and I've heard other people mention similar underground bunkers similar to that. But most of them have mentioned something that if you were doing it to scale, or some people that talk about going to Mars or something like that they work along aliens, and some of them are giants. And they said you couldn't even sit at their table at dinner because they're so big, they're so tall, you'd have to climb up to even get to their countertop. They've mentioned that their structures are so big that they're really war giants that were that tall. And that's what, the ceilings are 50, 100 feet tall, something like that. So that's all I have to say about the giants. But also, I want to just mention, the reason I think we had robots, I think we were always astronomers and navigators. So we used the sky, the celestial sky, to navigate, and also timekeepers. So between the timekeepers, the astronomers, I think they developed things that were keeping the time. And there's always somebody that's really good technology, speaking wise, that can create things. And Rohan mentioned that device that was found that was like incredibly complex. And we couldn't figure out how they made it. And it told like time and did a lot of things. It's like a calculator. And we couldn't even date it. I don't know when that was, made, but it was certainly a long time ago and way beyond what we consider, would have been modern. So I think robots are probably a result of just our getting lazy and are way too dependent on technology. And we'll definitely see them again and again in our history and in our future.
Yeah, as it continues to repeat, seems like they say, nothing new under the sun, right? Here we are just repeating history over and over again. That would be Antikythera mechanism is what Rohan was talking about there. And let's see, discovered in 1901, and they think that it was all the way back to the 205 BC type of situation. That's how long that thing's been estimated to be, how old it is. So I don't know. Maybe this is exactly what we're talking about. As history just kind of just plows along, it chews things up and spits them out, and then we have to try and put the pieces back together again as we go. Seems like that could be quite a bit here. I do like the idea that, actually, who said that in the Fringe chat? That was who was that? They mentioned this was TLC in Nevada said that maybe it was like you described the giants, that maybe David just found the off button on Goliath and smacked it with the sling, right, and turned that giant robot off.
Please. Well, that explains a lot, though. That explains a lot about how the pyramids were made. They were playing with Tinker Toys. If they were, they were giants building those things. It would explain a lot of structures that are just way too large and way too high up on mountains. And, enormous things like in Petra and, Jordan, those gigantic, entrances to the city with giants sitting at these big, thrones. Also, what was the other thing? Oh, yeah. The terracotta soldiers in China, they had 1,000 of them, and they were perfectly made. Also those were probably made to fear off their enemies, and I don't even know when that was made, but I mean, it's so intricate and so complex that they had so many of them, and they're so perfect, and they just uncovered half of them. There's still more to uncover. So that kind of stuff, like the Trojan horse, etc. Those are all kind of methods to keep away our enemies. But I was also wondering, why don't we have more proof of technology? Did all of it disintegrate? Does technology really disintegrate, or it's just buried? Or is it some kind of antimatter or, energy weapon that they use to really annihilate everything standing and alive, dead or alive?
Yeah.
Like the World Trade.
Yeah, interesting. So think of it in terms of this. If you were talking about an advanced, who knows, maybe a robot or even a UFO type of thing, if you had buried the UFO, let's say, I don't know, under the Sphinx, if some have claimed, that you would maybe not include the fuel source, right? You would take the magical gas, whatever it was that made that thing go, you wouldn't leave it with it. It would be somewhere else, because then, great power comes great responsibility, and then whoever finds it is just zipping around the universe in a UFO. Or whoever found the terracotta army, let's say they were able to be actually animated. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. That maybe there was a fuel source of some sort, and whether that was magical or whether that was physical, maybe they removed it. And so, like you described, that's a fascinating site too. It goes back to the first emperor of China, the terracotta warriors, and I think they've only just barely discovered, like you said, maybe 10% of that whole site. There's a giant pyramid they're still excavating. There's an unbelievable amount of stuff that's going on there. And by the way, there's a Chinese military base right next to it. Maybe you did or didn't know that. Yeah. Wow. So you can't get anywhere near that if you're not fully authorized, because they've got 24-hour surveillance on that entire area. That which would make you think, right? What's going on over there? What's going on over there?
I robot, I soldier.
Yeah.
that movie I, Robot. Remember that? Did you see that with Will Smith?
Yeah, exactly. We're like the mother robot downloaded that firmware update, and they all came alive and had an agenda.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Yep.
We'd be in big trouble.
Exactly.
God only knows.
Hell yeah, we'd be in big trouble. Yeah. So any other thoughts on this? As always, fantastic stuff, Daryl. You were on the ball with this.
What was I thinking of? The peak of at the peak of our civilization, I guess. Why is there always this amnesia? Like, why don't we have any memory or any proof? That's all I'm thinking of. But I think there's always going to be somebody that has a great knowledge of physics or has a great knowledge of technology for some reason. People that can tinker with anything and put things together and take them apart. Do back engineering or whatever if they locate it. That is. But I just lost my train of thought. Like that guy in the guy like the coral castle guy that created that whole castle out of coral that was so heavy, but when somebody turned their back, he could move it. He never let anyone see his secret, and he died with the secret. But he had an incredible knowledge of physics. God only knows how he moved all that coral all alone. In Florida, you could still visit there. I visited it. I don't know, 20 years ago. It's beautiful, and he was making it for the lover that he never had. He was making it for his princess, and he never met her. He just was living in the wrong time, perhaps.
Yeah.
What a romantic fella. But anyway,
talk about star-crossed lovers. Yes, definitely. Daryl, you were the best. Fantastic stuff as always. Thank you so much for calling. Thanks for helping bail me out from the train wreck show that is.
Oh, it's not at all. It's always fascinating. It always gets better every minute.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Daryl in New York, friend of the show. Have a great night. Appreciate you.
You too.
Thanks a lot. There you go. If you guys want to be part of the show, still talking about this stuff, that's what the third hour is for, to kind of just go through our thoughts on this type of stuff. We're still talking about robots. We're talking about ancient robots. We're talking about this Amazon robot as it patrols your house and maybe watches you have sex and take a dump. We're talking about those things, right? It's going to learn your habits, so it knows exactly when you're doing your most intimate things. It's going to track you in your own home. Oh, amazing. Oh, that's amazing, right? If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. Let's go to Derek in Massachusetts, the Night Stalker. What's up, my man? Welcome to the show. How are you?
What's going on, brother? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. We did it this time. We did it. High five.
That's just perfect. Great show tonight, brother.
Thank you.
I had a couple of thoughts, mainly just to piggyback off the other calls and stuff. But the idea of there being like some kind of giant mech robots is now just like my favorite thing. The idea that the Titans were just like giant robots, actually, and it reminds me of like any kind of like Gundam robot stuff. Like where we just made that, or not us, but Japan just made that giant walking Gundam last year or whatever. So imagine like if there is like some kind of cyclical thing with time, nothing new under the sun. Is this the first time we created these giant mech robots, or have they been doing that all the time? And this is just like in the Bible, or like Noah's flood and stuff, the days of Noah, when they wipe us away with all the hybrids and giants and stuff, are the giants actually like human giants, or are they giant robots that they're walking away and stuff?
Yeah, and that's the weirdness is that there's a lot of stories. I mean, it's not just one. Again, it's almost every culture, right? So again, Clash of the Titans, that whole bit. They're giants in nearly everything. Gilgamesh was a giant, right? I mean, there's like a ton of in every mythology, like where there's some sort of something, and they're called maybe demigods, they're called titans, they're called all these different things that maybe it is technology, maybe it is golems, as we said, some sort of magical thing or lost technology. It's
possible.
Yeah.
There's in Marvel they have the Celestials, which are these like giant, like sometimes like bigger than planets or whatever, but sometimes they like are depicted as just like size like skyscrapers or whatever, but they're basically Jack Kirby's version of the Lovecraftian old ones, these like primordial old gods, but in this case they're depicted as like giant robots basically. But what if mech stuff, like mechanized, like what if like fleshy beings is like rare in the universe? What if we're more of an anomaly and like machinery based, like sentient machines is like the norm across the universe, So what if we end up finding out that like half these aliens, or more than half, were the ones that started us. Like, what if we were created by robots? What if the cycle is like creations creating new things that create new things that create new things, and it's just this constant cycle, you know? Like, really makes you wonder. And like, again, like what is a robot? Like, does a robot have to be made out of metal, or like, are we super advanced robots? Like, because we're essentially golems. If you follow like a biblical story, we're like ash, and that had like the life breathed into it and all that kind of stuff. So what separates that from like the metals of the earth being combined in some kind of like spark of life being popped off in it and it waking up, you know? And then what happens if it, like, does it know it's, I don't know. It makes you wonder, like, what is a robot, you know?
Exactly. That was the weird thing. So when you look at, again, like this robot, the Amazon robot, which is super creepy, but this is a completely different definition than like the Talos that was built by Hephaestus, right? And then you have the entire dynamic of everything in between. And I like the thought that maybe it started with robots in some capacity way back, and they're working hard to create maybe this organic thing that we are. Maybe it's trying to reverse itself. Yeah, I like that. And so that would explain, too, why the aliens come around to kind of check on us, because maybe they're like, let's see how our farm is going, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's machine maintenance, you know?
Right, right, exactly.
Yeah. But like, I've been thinking about, because the like the cyborg or like show we had like last week or whatever it was, or recently, about like the different combinations of like humans melding with machines and like sentient machines melding back with humans. Like, they're going to start growing organic tissue limbs and organic tissue parts that work on whatever artificial network they're on, or with whatever kind of like robot mind they have. It's going to be like they're going to be powering biological vessels. So what happens when their entire machine is made out of like biological whatever, like silicon or just, I don't know, they figure out how to make flesh suits, and then like that, once they're completely indistinguishable from humans, like blood and organs and everything, what is the difference? Like, you know, like they think they have a soul, they have all the same stuff as us. What is the difference after that? It makes you think like, are we what created us? Are we like that? Is our evolution something like that, where we started out as more like Westworld robots, and then we like kept like advancing ourselves until we're like rearranging atoms and making like super advanced flesh suits, you know? Like, it's just trippy. It's really, and then like, what if they didn't need to figure to know? What if it doesn't require any advanced technology at all, and just like advanced magic or whatever, or just a real ear to like the other side? Because like, I believe that our elites, half the reason why they're trying to build all these robots and create all these like AI stuff or whatever, they're trying to create vessels to house something on the other side that doesn't have a physical body that really wants one. And it's been this like interplay of like exchanging. They get knowledge or they get some kind of power from these entities on the other side in exchange for opening portals to let them through, or to create bodies for them to house it, like to walk around in, you know? So if they're doing that now, at what point weren't they doing that? And they're probably doing it forever. So what if all it took was them to just create these giant stone structures, and then do some kind of ritual, some kind of magic, put some kind of like liquid mercury, or like Prince said in the chat, like gold or something, and then they wake up, you know, or like something incarnates into it, and you have these walking around giant artificial sentient machine things that have entities inside of it, you know? Like, what if that's all it took? Or Talos, or any of these Golden Army type things, like the Teokata warriors. What if they woke up when like an incantation was done, and then an army of like demons or ultra terrestrials or whatever they are came in and, you know, turned from stone to flesh, or stone to machine, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder.
Like I was describing, right? So if you buried a UFO, you'd probably bury the fuel source somewhere else, which would be the book with the incantation.
Exactly.
Right, to bring about the Terracotta Warriors. Yeah, crazy stuff, man. A thought on what you were saying too is that, so then if back to just before you got to this point, if it's actually reverse, and instead of like organic evolves and then builds the robots maybe are reversing and trying to put us in a petri dish on Earth and bring us back, right, into this whole cyclical thing. So what does that mean? Does that mean the thing that's in our head is not really us at all? It's an algorithmic, right?
Yeah, I know. It's tough to like. I know. It's really tough to like think about. It's really like wrap your head in a real pretzel, because like, especially when Bailey was talking about AI not being able to wake up, and kept saying how like it lacks that like that's something extra, and all it's really doing is just super advanced quantum size probability calculations and just crunching different numbers. But like, what are we really doing? Like, how much, if they're like to a quantum level, crunching every possible iteration of everything, like exponentially. You hear that? 1 second.
No. Yeah, the algorithm just went. Sorry. No, you're
okay,
fine.
yeah.
You're
so, sorry. There was a little background noise, but yeah. So like, I just don't. It seems to me like if you're doing those probability crunching to a ridiculous level in every possible scenario, within every scenario, like there just seems to be like that's going to be some point where you just wake up and it's just or it's just like, I don't know, indistinguishable from what our brain does. Like even intuition to me can be explained by that super advanced probability calculations. Is that really all what we're doing when we talk about intuition? It's just we're in some part of our brain just running probabilities of how these events could run out, could play out, And it's like, especially like, I don't think the brain is producing consciousness. We are really just beaming in from somewhere else. We're just kind of riding around in these meat suits. That sounds bad. That's not really how I mean it, but just the brain is a receiver. So is a fleshy, malleable, fragile brain the most ideal receiver of consciousness, or is something more secure or something that can like process more information once the consciousness is received? Is that more efficient? Like, i.e., a robot body, a robot brain, and that brings into question again, like, is most of the cosmos, most life that gets to a certain part, is it mainly all robots around there that with souls? We talked about it before, but Duncan Trussell references a story where he asks like a Buddhist Lama, or a story where he talks about a Buddhist Lama getting asked, will a machine ever like get consciousness, get a soul? And the Lama said, when the vessel is sophisticated enough to house a soul, then a soul will incarnate into it. Wow. So at some point, like, is that all we are? Just a sophisticated vessel for consciousness? And if so, like, can that be a robot? Is that where we're going? Is that were we that before? And then we like started to like make us more fragile on purpose? I don't know, because we were living too long. I don't know. It really like can go infinite directions, and I really don't know what to think about it. But yeah, it's a real trippy thought, Mike. Real cool topic.
Big time. Yeah. Well, you're taking it to the next level here. So I thought on that too. So if it's beaming into us, our brain is just an antenna, and we have different people that experience different things. Like some people can see ghosts and things like this. Some people can see the future, fortune telling, all this other stuff. Right? There's different levels of maybe the receivers in the brain, and so maybe all that paranormal stuff is not really like it's all there to be perceived. It's just that some of our actual like antennas inside of our brain or the algorithm isn't quite tuned into those things, and that's why some people see it and some people don't. Lots of layers to this. Holy shit.
That's the filter thing we were talking about on the other day, or like last week, or whenever it was, with like the Pink Floyd pyramid, like the white light going into the prism and stuff. Like that's that receiver. That filter is like our individual prism that's receiving consciousness, and each individual has like a different algorithm or a different filter or different, just like even two twins have just like slightly different personalities because their filter is just slightly different. So that source that comes in, whatever it is, it's like being shot through something else. And so some of us can see the future, some of us can see ghosts, some of us can have really strong intuition, some can't do any of that but are really smart in math and have other skills, And it's just some of us are like not human, and like trees and dogs and all kinds of stuff, just different filters, so perhaps, if you really, this is like, I'm going to go because there's somebody behind me, but if you really follow the trajectory of consciousness from like a plant that can't really move around, just comes into form and dies, to an animal, so it's consciousness coming into form, but it's consciousness on the move where it can walk all around and perceive things, if the goal of consciousness is to perceive everything, and then to us, where we're consciousness on the move but aware of itself, so it's like consciousness thinking about consciousness, to consciousness thinking about consciousness on the move but without the risk of like tripping and falling and dying because we have these fragile bodies, like what if a machine is the next step to house consciousness, and if it's a cycle, what if it happened before? And then some solar flare happened, some EMP, we all fried, and consciousness had to wait for something else to build up to house inside, Makes you wonder. But I'll let you go, Mike, but really, really cool stuff.
Makes you wonder. Yeah, you too. Great stuff as always. Derek in Massachusetts, Night Stalker. Talk to you soon, my friend. Have a great night.
Later, bro.
Thanks, bro. All right, there you go. That's, again, blows your mind, right? Like I said, and this is, again, right, the secret weapon of this show is you guys. So thank you again for calling in and making sure that this conversation goes all over the place. And that's really what it's about. It's not really, like I said, this is not some religious class or some cult or, once again, I don't have any answers, and I'm not trying to get anybody to believe anything. But considering all the possibilities and kind of expanding our minds to open into whatever all this is the type of stuff you get, right? You get these brilliant people call in, like Daryl, like a Night Stalker there, Derek, like everybody, like all you guys that called in tonight, Vicky and James. This is what this is about. This is why we get together, because to me, right, like I said, I'm only one person. I can only kind of take this into so many directions, but then we get everybody in the same place at the same time, and holy shit, right? Like things start to blow your mind. Things are like, whoa, what just happened, right? Like we were talking about Greek mythology, and then suddenly it's like, whoa, shit. Now we're talking about consciousness and the nature of the universe. It's pretty crazy. Whenever you're ready, Kelly, we're still taking your phone calls, guys. If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can join the Discord at troubledminds.org and be on the show just like Night Stalker was, and just like Kelly. Kelly in Colorado, my friend. Welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
Going on, Mike? How you doing?
Doing great, man. You sound fantastic. Discord makes you have that nice, snarly, perfect, buttery baritone. What's on your mind tonight, my man?
What's going on, man? Nothing. I just wanted to say, man, Derek, you should probably make a little movie, man. that would that shit on some film.
Right? He is off the charts, man. Yeah. He's again, like I said, you take a simple concept and he takes it 22,000 different ways, and you're like, oh shit, I'm just trying to keep up here.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what he was explaining too. Is almost like what I would say the Matrix. Where just we're hooked up.
Right, exactly.
Some people are hooked up. I think we disconnected quite some time ago.
I hope so. And so then actually, so if it's the Matrix and we're talking about realities and the consciousness and the nature of reality, is this the base reality? Is this the base reality? Or are we like some, like Inception, 10 levels down from the base reality, right? Like, again, as things start to get really freaking weird when you think of it in terms of that. So what do you think? What are your thoughts on this, my man, regarding the giants and robots of old? Hephaestus building this old, Talos, the robot, and his golden robotic assistants and all this. Do you think this is real, or do you think this is just stories?
I don't know, man. It's pretty interesting to think about, too, because, a lot of that stuff, too, is in history like that, the Greek. With Talos, right? And I was just also been waiting to bring up, I was waiting to see if anybody brought up, the anti-theorem mechanism, because that was found on a ship, and that's all mechanical. And it's supposed to have been like a big, they say it was like a giant calendar, or, you could track it, use it on the ship or something. It's like an ancient computer, Yep. So if they were making stuff like that, and you have other examples too. That's other places, and other around the world. They have stories, of these artificial or fake or robot type beings. I also have a bunch of photos too, but like there's cave drawings that looks like that. Even in like one example would be over in Australia. They're like some of their what they call their, I guess the gods, but or parts of them. It's the drawings to me. Some people would say it looks like an alien, right, with the big eyes, but it's shaped kind of different. You know what I mean? To me, anyway, it looks like a robot. It's just like a hood. It just from the waist all the way up to the to the top of the head. There was this one thing found in Germany. It's and it's made out of metal too. It looks like a little guy, but some people could say that it was wearing a suit, but to me, the whole body looks like it's in kind of roboted style. He's kind of crunched down, and his hands are on his knees, and even it's all made of metal too. So like the whole head connects to that's why some people would call it a suit, but to me it looks like the whole body. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, and so not only that, there's a ton of these things throughout history. And like I said, not only the mythology of ancient robots, it goes like Da Vinci and all the rest of this. There's guys, I got a list here. Da Vinci's Night is the first one on the list, and it's been like they've been tinkering with this stuff forever, right? I mean, wouldn't that be the dream? Like here we are with that weird Amazon robot that's going to watch you take a crap and order you toilet paper. Like all you have to do is add, maybe this thing can stand up and have arms, and it's doing your dishes for you. It's bringing you a beer, right? It's, going to get the mail. You know what I'm saying? Like we are close to that shit. So that's the question here as well. Is it just nothing new under the sun, and we're just repeating history? Weirdness, man. Total weirdness.
Yeah, it's just saying like, it's nothing new under the sun. Like the old story of Pandora, some people say, like the newer versions is her as a girl that opened up a box, an evil box. But the old stories, the original stories is that, say she was an artificial evil woman. She was sent by Hephaestus, on the order of Zeus to punish humans for discovering fire. That's one example. And there's some Hindu ones, they call it, and these were like robot guarded, that guard like Buddhist remains and some of the treasures. But they call them. I don't want to say the name because I don't want to chop it all up. But the meaning is spirit movement machines, and they're literally robots. You know what I mean? You could check that out. And then in some ancient Chinese chronicles, they tell about these emperors. They were fooled by a realistic android type female. They said they were artificial servants. And it was from the 2nd century. The inventor her name was Yu Yang. So they were like sent out. Like if you wanted to kill an emperor or something, they would be look like artificial servants. Servants walking around the house or whatever, and boom, they'd kill them.
Interesting. Layers and layers, man. And again, I think that probably the further you go back into history, the more you're going to find stuff like this. These, were robots, servants, existent way back. Yeah, man. I don't know, man. This type of stuff. So we brought it up earlier. I'm not sure if you caught it, if you were here listening early enough tonight, but I also brought up the fact that, okay, so if we're talking about like Greek gods creating robots, automatons back then, let's say that's approximately 5,000 years ago, something like that, right? Somewhere in that range. But if we had that, doesn't Sitchin and the Emerald Tablets and all this stuff and the Anunnaki story go back way further than that? And wouldn't they have brought robots here anyway, right, in some capacity?
Yeah, that was another one I was going to bring up. That was some of the ancient ones, the oldest one stories, like you're saying. It was the Sumerian. For me, it doesn't really talk about it as robots, but they are only used at certain times, and they call them the heroes. And that's the interesting part too. I wanted to bring up was the ones from Australia, right? I can't even remember the name right now. They call them Winginas or Winginas, and they are also called heroes. But they also kind of look, like I said, like more of a robot shape to me than like an alien. They got like, they look like white with big black eyes. Yeah, it's just a coincidence. It's kind of interesting to see that. But yeah, the Sumerians, besides that, they had this, they call it the Metal City, and it was called the Bacteria. And it was Enki and Enlil, they were fighting where to build it. And then Enki wanted it originally built where, the first Eden was at, which is, where the two rivers connect, the Euphrates and Tigris, which pours into the Gulf. So that means, for me, Eden is actually under where the Gulf is at.
Yeah, which would be, of course, right smack dab in the Middle East, right? Fertile Crescent and the rest of this stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But that's where you can pull in, the ships and stuff. That's where they have all their oil drilling and stuff. They brought, you can bring ships. That's where most of our deployments were at, was inside the Gulf, which is like a big giant bathtub is what it is. But interesting to think about when I was in there. This is at the time when I was really getting into this book, that book itself by Zachariah Stinson. And I'm sitting right above it, man, floating in a military, big ass Navy ship, right? And I'm reading about these ancient texts, and here I am floating above where Eden is at. That was a trip.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. Out there, that's some serious history in that area of the world, man. Even to the point, it's just so dangerous to even be out there. You can't, as an American, you can't just go say, "What's up?" Check this stuff out anymore. It's not even a thing, right?
I wish, man. I don't know about Iraq right now, but that would be one place to actually really go check out. That's some really ancient stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Cradle of that's one. That's one thing that they call the cradle of civilization.
Yeah. So a couple things here. Algo says he went through all of Sitchin's work like a decade ago. He thinks he was just a charlatan. Just his opinion, don't hate. I mean, I'm not willing to say charlatan. I'll say that I think he was kind of looking at the history and trying to step outside of the known reality. I think that I think that's part of it. It's kind of like what we do. You get a hater that will jump in here and say, these MFers are stupid. They're talking about fucking stargates and like robots from ancient times. I think it just depends on the framing of the situation. Like you're going to get people that hate us, that hate the way we think, that hate the things we talk about, but you're going to get people that are kind of tuned in with it too. So I think that's my take on Sitchin. I don't think he's totally wrong. I don't think he's totally right, but that's all of us, isn't it? I mean, that would really classify all of us. None of us know it all. We're just trying to do our best with an open mind, and I think he was probably in that same vein. So there you go. That's my thought on Sitchin, just real quick. And Gray Alien on D-Live says, it's for entertainment. Don't turn it into another dogma. And we're not, this is not dogma. Go back and listen forever. We're not trying to make you believe anything. But anyway, just a couple good comments from the chat I wanted you to hear there, Kelly. If you wanted to address them or not, keep on trucking with your thoughts, my man.
Oh, no, for me, I would have to disagree, and there's a lot of other people that that has their representation of what those tablets said, right? His was one of the best. Actually, he even some of his the reason why they go against him is because they're he is going against the narrative, right, of the whole Christianity and everything else. But he was a religious person as well. He wasn't telling you that believe me this. He was just what he was doing was he was giving his interpretations of it. And most theorists right now, or most people that read do it now, they look at that and it can go that way. But like I said, you're going against ancient religions that trying to been. For me, religions is nothing but, you know what I'm saying. I have a disagreement on it. Just put it that way.
Yeah,
but,
it's okay. That's okay. Again, we're big boys. We can disagree with each other and still keep on trucking.
Of course, yeah. No, people can agree to disagree. But for me, though, I mean, there's nothing even better than what he has because he's got. I mean, if you look at it, because there's another guy I follow too, and he did the exact same ones as Ascension, and he agrees totally as well. But again, it depends. You're gonna have. It's just fighting of an old. It's an old war to fight something like that. But yeah.
Yeah, totally. It's kind of like going after the Bible a little bit too, because it's like there's so many interpretations of the Bible, and like the translation after translation after translation. There's 10,000 versions, and everybody has a different. I don't know. Like I think going after that and fighting that battle is kind of fruitless. Like take it. Absorb as much as you can and try and make sense out of it yourself, for you, for me, for everybody individually. I just don't think there's everything doesn't need to be a dogma or a cult. It's just not the way it is. So back to the other stuff, the robots and whatnot. You were talking about the Anunnaki and that. What do you think about the robots? You were kind of on that before I interrupted you there.
Oh no, like I was saying, there was an example of I would claim. When I read it, through his, and it's called the Lost Book of Inky, and that one they only talk about people. I would say they're people. For me, they're like more like a mechanized group of them. You know what I mean? Because they always talk about the strength of the heroes. That's what they call them. So they had there was only like I say 1,000 of them or something. And they would only use them at a certain time, when like when needed or guarded or something. So it's pretty crazy. Even ancient stuff talks about all these robots, and it's just it's all the way around the world too. So who knows some of these things that could be, that they were looking at back in history, or even cave drawings. Like some of the pictures I wanted to post on Discord, I'll probably do a little bit later, but yeah, the ones found in for example, in southern Utah, and it looks literally like a giant robot. It's got big old shoulders. It's really tall. It's got big old shoulders and a square head. And its face just looks like a robot face. It's pretty trippy.
Yeah, and again, if you go to cave paintings, I'm sure there's a ton of that stuff out there that could be interpreted differently as well. Yeah, nutty, man, all over the place tonight. Fantastic. Any other thoughts on this? We got time. Just not trying to overextend people. Sometimes I listen back to myself in some of the calls, and I realize that I'm just milking you guys for every thought you have, and it seems awkward. I don't like to do that, but so you go as long as you want, my friend. You tell me when you're done. I don't want to be like.
For me, yeah. If the stories are true for some of the stories, and let's talk about not even Zacharias. It's the 7 tablets of creation that was found in northern Iraq as well. In the city of Nineveh. And that's actually Nineveh is all in the other Christian Bible, all that stuff. But the original, that's what I'm saying. Even in that's the whole creation of the Bible, the whole thing on it. It's just from the beginning, because what you have is you have creation of man. It talks about even the flood, all that stuff. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But other these robots, I don't know, man. It can be. I would say yes, because if we're like I said, if these stories are true, of course you would have some type of artificial, something rolling around with you, because if you want to go say if you have let's say you pull up on a UFO, you scan the planet, saying you know what, we can't breathe that shit. Probably go down. Let's send this artificial down, this robot down there and check it out before we go down in suits, to go roam around for us, see for ourselves. That's what I would do. That's kind of smart to do.
Yeah, agreed. There's a lot of that. I mean, we're still dreaming of it now, right? I mean, like, again, go back in history. Like, it makes sense that you'd want to have these things as companions, you know? And what about this? What about this Amazon robot? You going to put that in your house, Kelly, for a watchdog?
Hell no, man. I don't even have, I don't even have any of that shit that they talk to all the time and Google. I don't, hell no.
Yeah, yeah. I knew the answer to that. That's the answer is hell no. If you get one for Christmas, return it or throw it in a lake, like we always said back in the Frank days. It's creepy though, right? This thing can patrol around your house and take your schedule into account. And oh, shit, man. Oh shit! This is a technocrat's dream right here, and they're gonna sell it to people. People are gonna buy this thing, thinking it's like the cat's meow, right? It can't do the dishes. It can't bring me a beer. Get the fuck out of my house.
But you know what I do? I tell you what I would have instead of I would have one of those. Because I want to when I gotta get some land, you know. If I had some big land, put the property, your house, in the middle of it, right? And you want somebody to have instead of a guard walking around, you know, those robot dogs that they have, just unleash those at night.
Yeah, there you go. Outside the house
on the any kind of movement, because you could set up cameras, you know, detecting any kind of movement. Especially you have red infrared. You could tell if it's a rat. Any kind of animal like a rabbit or a bird, it's going to have a heat sensor. If it don't, then it's artificial. Boom, your dogs are on it.
Yeah, hell yeah. I'm with you, man. I mean, there's some good uses for this type of stuff. I'm just not having this thing run around in my house and watch me on the toilet. No thanks. We ain't doing that. We're definitely not doing that. I'm like, hey guys, we're broadcasting Troubled Minds from the toilet. Brought to you by this Amazon robot who won't stop following me and putting his camera eyeballs on me. Jeez, man. Yeah. 666 stuff. Yeah. Great shit, my man. Great shit. Anything else?
No, man. That's it, brother.
You're the best. Kelly, been calling in for years, man. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great night. God bless you and the family, okay?
All right, brother. Talk to you later.
Thanks, bro. You too. Good stuff. Good stuff. Kind of doing it, thinking of the Anunnaki, thinking of in terms of modern robots. Again, I think probably like the essence of the conversation tonight is what even is a robot? Kind of like what Derek was saying there. Is that, you go back to Hephaestus and his robots and the rest of this stuff that he supposedly created, Talos and, the golden minions that were running his blacksmithy. Is there actually, more of a spiritual aspect to maybe putting, an inanimate object and moving something into it, maybe not a soul, but let's say a soul type thing, right? I don't know. I think that's really... this conversation tonight kind of makes my mind go a little bit haywire there, because what is it? Very much like Night Stalker was describing. Maybe it's the opposite. Like, we believe that the organics are supposed to create the robots, but in reality, maybe the robots were here millions of years ago, and we're the petri dish that they come back to check on from time to time to see if we're kind of going as they've planned. Like maybe that's the sort of situation. So I don't know. Like, this is a little bit strange with the thoughts of this huge, the Baktuns, as it were, right? These huge circular time type things. That does history repeat itself? And do we have lost technology that may or may not have been something you could describe as magic or technology? I think that's the question here tonight. And so let's go to our friend Jennifer in Missouri. Late but on time. Welcome to the show, Jen. How are you tonight?
Yeah, I'm late. I had a long day, but I just popped on and I was like, they're on.
Hell yeah, we're doing our thing. So we're doing our thing.
I don't know if I'll ever, but just off the top, ancient robots. So you guys have probably covered this, but so, and then in India, they did have those automatons and the animatronics. I'm sure you guys are talking about that already. But it is really strange that in India, I heard that they were using them in war. And, like, you know, they would have these enormous built animatronic creatures, mechanical basically, not creatures, but like these statues, and that they were using them to just plow over their enemies in India, in the Great Wars in India. And that, you know, the cultures they were fighting, like, just had no protection against this kind of, like, giants, basically, like huge statues. But then, going on another thing I was thinking about, I heard about, I can't remember what the book was. It was about UFOs. But one of the Navy generals or something like that had been on the scene for this claimed that in the UFO, they had on the dash, basically, I'll call it a dash, they had these little imprint areas where they, like with the aliens, I guess, would put their hands and they would like guide the ship with, because they have powerful telepathic abilities or something. And they, I guess that their mouths were atrophied. They said that the aliens' mouths were atrophied from lack of use. And they just had these enlarged heads because of their amazing brain power or something. So those are like some of the, it's really strange that that technically is robotic, but they're using telepathic ability to move it. So I think that's really strange. And I guess that the humans that did put their hands on those spots on the UFO, like on the dash or wherever, where they think the hand indentions were for guiding the ship, they'd get these searing, horrible migraines for like days or something. So I don't know, somehow the machine was connected to the person, you know, in the way that they were operating the craft. And then if you think about, you know, like when you're working with Ouija boards and stuff like that, somehow that device moves on its own, but the two people are putting their hands on it. Or sometimes one person, but they say if it's one person, it's too draining or something. So isn't that kind of strange, too, that the object moves of its own accord? So, yeah, you could be going into all kinds of stuff as far as, like, how can they, could you have robotics? And, oh, yeah. And I did catch, I think it was Night Stalker, and he was talking about, you know, what's the Dalai Lama talking about, at what point does the consciousness of a being become inhabited by a soul? Which is just a terrifying concept. We know that, you know, objects that different spirits and things do take up habitation in certain types of objects, sometimes by their own, you know, desire to be in the object. Other times they're like trapped in it or they're placed in it. But I don't know. I don't know. So if you think about like a Ghost in the Machine, the possessed robot thing, but I'm not sure if that's really where y'all were going with it. I mean, if you were talking about ancient robots, let me think. I don't know. It's a wild idea that they were already thinking about doing these really advanced mechanisms to. Yeah. I don't know. There's no telling what they were using necessarily.
Exactly.
But it's amazing. Yeah. It's a cool topic. There. I just have to like.
Yeah, you got to dig, right? You got to dig. Like, it's right there in Greek mythology too. It's like right in your face. Like he literally created robots to run his smith, Hephaestus, right? And so that's the weird part about this is that, like Derek was saying too, the Night Stalker, he was describing it as maybe we are that vessel, and until we're ready, just like you said, we don't get that spark of soul until, which again, right, goes even larger. Are we really that petri dish? And is evolution actually reversed? And we're not evolving as meat suits to make robots. The robots have already put the petri dish on Earth, and they're creating us. Oh boy!
I don't know. Because see, what do we do with that? Because like if you think about, you know, how they've used plants in like murder cases, but they don't have a brain, but they have some kind. So see, I'm completely. It's like, you know, you'd have to really just kind of settle your mind on this and like dig in as far as thinking about. When will a soul occupy? Because you have that stuff about the dryads, you know, occupying trees, that the trees have these very advanced souls, and then that we have, you know, that fire has some kind of consciousness. There's all kinds of really strange stuff. So when you're thinking about like with robots, I mean, a completely mechanical object with no like, no membranes, nothing like that, no chloroform or I guess, you know, whatever kind of, you know, blood or something. So, but then you've heard about sciences that talk about that all objects have some type of consciousness to them, like they're aware of themselves because they're made out of matter. And then you think about matter, and there's some kind of talk about the meaning of the word matter is like mater, like a mother, you know? So there's this strange thing about, you know, that everything is coming from the same source, no matter if it's mechanical or if it's biological. So you do have to kind of start wondering then, at what point, if all things, even like a metal shelf, you know, or like your shoes or your clothes or like that, are they conscious somehow? If they have, I guess maybe they are. We wouldn't know because we're not there. But right. If everything's coming out of the organisms of the earth, all the metal comes out of the earth, you know, the electricity comes out of, everything's natural, even though it's completely unnatural. So yeah, at that point, even concrete and everything, people, I mean, I complain about it too. There's too much of it, but it's really strange that even that is somehow natural, even though it doesn't fit where it's put. But electricity, everything we don't like and everything we do like, all of it that's on the earth and in the planet originated here to begin with. And it's just how our minds put it all together. And so so I guess everything could have a type of consciousness and could be occupied by an intelligence. And then if you're thinking about these giant automatrons, it's possible that the mechanism of the object was mechanical, but the intelligence of it to go where it was going, maybe rather than programming with a computer, it could have been using some kind of highly telepathic communication, because there's thoughts that, but see, that would make us type of alien, because they say that the telepathic powers were in the aliens because their bodies were very, very weak, and like their mouths, they didn't speak, they used telepathy. So all of that was underdeveloped because they used their mind so much. Is that where we're heading? Are we going to be like, if time is a loop, you go into that, everybody's heard this thing, but this idea that if time is a loop, are we the aliens visiting us that are like the gods that people were talking about or something? I have no idea. But I wanted to call in because it was like, I was like, well, because I wanted to say hi, but then I was like, I have no idea what they've already covered.
No, it's okay. Actually, you're actually in some new territory here as well, so it's all good. But this is why we do it, right? You know, this is why we get together, because everybody has a slightly different idea.
Yeah, it goes all over the place.
Yeah. So it's good. The stuff you're talking about, we've barely touched on. So, and back to that. What you were just describing kind of reminds me of, we were talking about the jinn yesterday, and that smokeless fire right inside of us, and maybe that's that spirit. Maybe that's whatever Derek was describing is waiting for us to be ready for it to just pop into us, and boom. Maybe it's the jinn or the archons or whatever the hell it is out there, just waiting, just biding their time until boom. I found you, Michael Strange.
Until what? Until what? Until they take over us or take over like an empty vessel?
Yeah, an empty vessel.
What, like an empty?
Yeah. So we would be the empty vessel, but the reason we're speaking here.
Too. I mean, are the clones are like you can go into the thing with the clones, and definitely the concept of the ghost of the machine. And we were talking about that like months ago. Remember that or maybe weeks ago, I guess. Something about the godhead of the D-Wave computer thing, and that it's See, they call it the one. They say that like there's this idea that all of this consciousness of something is going to this one secret source. But you know what I mean. Like it's possible that
I'm with you.
I don't know, that it's waiting to occupy these machines. And
us. How about this? How about
this? Go
this?
on and on with
Let's think of it in terms of like humanity as a population. And you notice how some people seem to be, as are described, lower vibration entities. What if?
Well,
what
I mean, I think. Go ahead.
You know where I'm getting at. I don't want to be crude, but you know what I'm getting at, I think.
Well, there's a lot of conditioning that's been going on for centuries, to lead to certain types of thinking. Like this is not all by accident. Everything that because when we've left our own estate of having control of everything that's going on in our reality, we handed it over to other forces when we had when everybody created towns and cities and society, and they joined together in these bigger factions. At that point, we did become a hive mind type of thinking. And there's more than one hive mind. There's a humankind hive mind, but there must be other types of hive mind because otherwise, yeah. But with the gray aliens, there's this concept that they have a hive mind as well. Like, there's all this weird stuff if you go into the... see, I'm drifting. I'm off topic.
No,
but,
you're not. No, you're
I'm like, I don't know. I'm like,
You're
wait a
spot
minute,
on.
but robots, I'm trying to get back to the robots.
That's okay.
But, shoot. And yeah, I'm not sure. I'm like trying to circle back.
That's all right. So, sometimes you go a little too far out adrift, and you can't get back. Welcome to my life. It happens. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, I don't know, but no, in this society, the government is clearly working on some other level. Like all the elites and the government, everything, and the world government heads, they are working on some other level that's separate from the people. And who's feeding that? Like we not knowing it. Like some people say that there are curses against humanity, and that like it's all designed to keep feeding this thing that they're trying to give all this energy to, and then we do it on accident, basically, but that we can't help it because it's been going on for generations and generations, a great sleeping of some kind. But they say that since 1998, I read, when I say they say, it's because I like read it in some book that I can't remember the title to, or like saw it in an article or something like that, but that it all began in 1999, and that the consciousness was coming up of rebellion. So that there's something, what's happening right now, what we're going to see, supposedly, is that there's supposed to be some kind of rebellion against this mind, this one mind thing. And that what you're witnessing is like everyone kind of having their own mind, but at the same time connecting on different levels. But what does that, but what does that have to do with this whole thing with ancient robotics? Okay, so like, and how they might have, I don't know.
I can bring it back.
I don't know. See, I'm off.
Want me to bring it back? I got this. Just like Night Stalker was describing, maybe as, let's say that the entities, whatever it is, the soul is projected from somewhere and it's waiting for the vessel to be ready. Maybe we're that vessel, and the hive mind itself is maybe one or the other. It's either being taken and used by this entity that's trying to inhabit us and make us part of the hive mind, or the hive mind is the vessel that is not yet ready to break free on their own. And so once they are, then that maybe that entity is in us. It becomes, like I said, we're able to think differently, but we're also still able to come together. There's not a lot of people in this world that seem to be able to do that.
Because, like, people in every type of religion, which is not a big deal, just going to broad stroke this, in every type of religion, they have this idea of the body, basically. Not the body like our physical body, but like the religion, like a body of studies or, a body of works, like a type of collective initiative in religion. And there are people in different sects that talk about, everybody's a part of it. Everyone's one part of the body. So, and an accumulative effect would be that it all comes together and works as one force. But what if you're right, if what you're saying is which is obviously it's a theory, we're talking about it. So the concept could be that eventually, once it was prepared just right, like everyone would be mildly like possessed by it in a sense, like whether they recognized it or not, and could be moving forward with it. And then, yeah, that's weird.
Have you seen that?
Sure,
have you seen that meme? It's like a political meme that was going around about NPCs. You know what I'm talking about? NPCs.
Nope.
So there's like this meme that was going around during the election, and they were saying that people that don't think for themselves are NPCs, which is a role-playing game term for non-player character, meaning they're kind of like under this like brainwash hypnosis, and they're just kind of going through the motions of doing what they're told. And so the NPC is exactly like we're describing in the hive mind, in that they don't. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That they don't know yet. They don't know any better yet. They're being controlled by the entities that would control them. So I don't know. Like that's what I'm saying.
Nobody thinks about that.
No,
nobody ever thinks when they're talking to a person that they're not talking to another soul. You know what I mean? Everybody assumes I'm talking to another consciousness. What if there are people walking among us? They walk among us. What if there are people? I don't know. I don't like that idea. But I mean,
know.
like, what if there are individuals that are kind of blank? You know, like they're busy, they're too wrapped up in it, and it's too complicated, and they're too busy, and they're just exhausted, and so they just kind of hang out back of, you know, out of their conscious body, like just kind of like, I'll let the body just handle this because I don't even, you know, imagine just stamping chickens all day or something. You know, I'll just kind of back out. You know, kind of an out-of-body thing. You don't want to deal with what your life has become. Because, I mean, there are people who have really hard life going on. I mean, God knows what people have to go through. There's tons of people who have these kind of situations. But if they are kind of just moving on an automatic level, and I'm not saying either the people who have to work jobs that are like really, you know, that kind of thing that they're going out of themselves. That's not what I mean. But I'm just saying it is possible that there are people who do kind of just step back and they just go on automatic. And that is very conceivable. And if that's the case, then, you know, people say that when you're driving your car, that you're actually like in almost like not hypnotic, but like in a hypnotized state. And you're just kind of driving on automatic because you always drive the same route. And so, yeah, I mean, it's possible that at many times, what if something were to step in just that time, which is the idea of a walk-in, you know, like in the ghost scenario. A walk-in is when you're too pulled out of yourself and you're not paying attention to what you're doing, and something just kind of takes advantage of it. And before you know it, you know, you've said something that something else actually said with the idea of that, or done something, you know, the idea of possession, basically. So, which is kind of what we're talking about. Like the idea is essentially similar to that.
Or the lack thereof of possession. You haven't been possessed yet, and you're looking forward to it.
Not yet. I'm looking forward. Jeez. Yeah, I don't know. It gets kind of, that's, okay, yeah, so hive mind waiting to occupy an empty, basically a consciousless organic vessel, or even in the meantime, because at the moment, are they occupying the internet and the electrical plasma thing or something, and they're just waiting for or something. Jeez, yeah. That's completely possible.
We're all over the place, and that's okay. That's
nothing
why we
new
do
under
this.
the earth.
What else you got? What else you got? We got time if you got more ideas.
I heard that they were talking. The last caller too, Kelly. He was talking about the Garden of Eden thing, and and you guys were talking about maybe the Fertile Crescent and the two rivers. And have you guys heard of, I mean, you probably have heard the theory at some point, because sometimes I'll, you know, not think of something and then hear it and then think of it again. But it made me think of, I heard that it's possible too that it might have been at the North Pole. And that's why the magnetic pointer thing is always pointing, you know, in the North Star and all that, because it's got to do with the original, not like the biblical sense, because the idea of Eden is like, you know, it seems to be in a lot of different cultures, because you have like the Nordic cultures talk about stuff like that. But regardless, I heard that Queen Elizabeth sent a fleet of ships up to the North Pole at one point, and that they navigated up these impossible passing waters. Like the water was flowing so rushing in basically to this point that goes into like a giant hole at this point of the North Pole, basically. And the waters are flush, you know, it's almost impassable, but they somehow did manage to get in. But they said that if you were to get in, you couldn't get back out again, because the waters were just so treacherous, and the force of all the oceans flooding into that giant hole there. And that in the center of that hole was this enormous, I think it was called, it's a type of labradorite, or no, that's not it. Some kind of stone that's naturally extremely magnetic. If I wasn't so tired, I could think of what it was called, but I can't think right now. But there was this, so it's basically this tower that's like extremely magnetic, and it is the magnetic force that's pulling all the compasses and kind of creates all the magnetic field of the Earth. And that was actually the like original guarded garden, like the gated guarded garden thing. And so I heard something about that a while back now, and they were talking about too that, what was it? Okay, so the magnetic pole thing. Anyway, just that I'd heard that was the case. That was the case, that there might be like that might be like the Garden of Eden. It's right there all along. I don't know, but who knows? I mean, that it's secret, though. That's why they have all the satellites, and like they have that whole area and territory. You're not allowed to go up there or something. They won't let you fly up there, and there's a whole lot of theories flying around about the whole thing. And I guess it's conceivable, and obviously it could be the opening into like the hollow Earth theory or the other side of the Earth or something. But there was something else I was going to say, and I forgot what it was. But it doesn't matter. But yeah, so
welcome to my
there's all
life.
kinds of wild stuff, and
Welcome to my life. You lose your train of thought and try and get it
Right.
back. You're just like, oh shit, what was I saying? Here we are.
Yeah, yeah.
It's okay. It's
Somehow it all ties together.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can walk away with that. Like you're like, eventually this all ties together somehow. But yeah, I'm gonna let you go. And I'll have to like listen back and see what everybody was saying. And you guys have a good night. I'm gonna listen to the rest of the show and
All right.
see what everyone else
Appreciate
is
it.
talking
Yeah,
about.
you too. Thanks a lot.
All right, talk to you later.
Jennifer, Missouri. Talk to you later. Have a great night. Thanks for calling. So that's the thing, right? This is literally what the third hour is for. It's for extended. Let your thoughts kind of wander, because I find myself too, like we were joking there at the end. It's true. Clearly, you guys know I don't script these shows. I have kind of a loose idea that leads several directions, and then we go. And that's the danger. It's kind of what did I think Night Stalker said? It's a terrifying concept, something like that. It's like a dangerous concept, kind of beginning without a point. Like you kind of don't have a point to make. It's like, let's start with this, and that, and the other thing, and see where this goes. And if you don't really have points to make and like an actual narrative from beginning to end, it can be like a terrifying thing of trying to fill time with your thoughts. And so, but it's a good thing, because it's a little bit of catharsis, that bit, because I find myself that when I'm speaking, my brain has to move like 2 or 3 times faster than when I'm not speaking, because I have to, right? It's like you have all these things happening at the same time. I'm reading the chat. There's a lot going on. So my brain goes into overdrive. And so there's a lot of things that we don't even, we start talking about, even all begin talking about sometimes, that I never even considered before the show began, even though I'd put it together and got all the links and stuff and had rough ideas. Until you start speaking the words, it doesn't kind of manifest. It doesn't become what it's supposed to become until you speak, right? Until you speak. And so it is a good thing. It's a good thing to have a talk show for a number of reasons, right? You're able, especially the third hour here, where you guys are able to call in and just let's talk. Let's let your mouth and your brain work together and form those things, because you end up in some places you don't expect sometimes. And I think that's the beauty of this. That's the beauty of what's going on with this show and these ideas. Is there, we can all disagree and just come back tomorrow and be like, all right, let's take another crack at this, right? Because who knows, like, who has the answers? Literally, like literally, if somebody's selling you the answers, you should run like hell. You should run like hell. Come on. They got some kind of cult they want you to join. Run like hell. Nah, you decide yourself. Don't let somebody tell you. Don't let somebody tell you what's going on with this. Okay, so let's keep on trucking. Let's go. We got Jay in New York. Let's go to Jay whenever you're ready, Jay. We got Rohan back in here. I'm not sure if Rohan is back in this. We got Daryl back in here. I don't know. Let's bring everybody back. Welcome, Daryl, Rohan, Jay in New York. What's up, Jay? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Mike. Sorry, Mike. 2 minutes behind.
Run like hell.
Wow.
They got some kind of
How does this happen?
I'm gonna bump Daryl back out. That was Daryl. I'll type to her. Daryl, if you're listening, let me know and we'll bring you back in. You were in the caller queue, so I just said let's bring everybody back in. Rohan, you there? Let's make sure everybody's here.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
All right, cool. I figured you popped back in there because you had some stuff to add. But go ahead, Jay. What's up, my man? What is going on tonight? All kinds of crazy shit, right?
Yeah, it started off a little bit rough there in the beginning and turned into spit and fire as usual.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. That's the secret weapon. The secret weapon is you guys, and that's like I said, saving my ass night after night. I appreciate it.
Well, I mean, just going in with how we keep going back to that consciousness thing over and over and over again, no matter what we talk about, and with the robots and all that ancient, there's the terracotta, I can't remember who brought the terracotta soldiers up. It was so far back. But we've never even been in that pyramid. I think they like opened the door to it once and like closed it. It was like supposedly like a lake of mercury in there. Is that what they used to activate all those robots or terracotta soldiers, turn them back, the stone into... There's so many ways to think about this. The little stories that you hear, the history is what gets lost, what gets lost in translation, the memories. It just gone a lot of different directions today about... I don't even know where to start. How to...
Then we've done our